Welcome into the giant overreaction. And no, it is not an overreaction. The New York Giants have benched Daniel Jones for what looks like to be the remainder of the season. And likely Daniel Jones has played his last snap in blue. Welcome to the show. Appreciate y'all pulling up. It's been a busy morning. Big shout out to the homie Stan one time. We've been texting all morning. A little bit more of a smile on my face now that we have gotten this news. Salute to all of y'all for rocking out on a Monday afternoon here. Daniel Jones has been benched. It is all over. All the national stations have been talking about it all morning. I think the surprising part for most people is that he has been benched. It's not Drew Lock who's been playing QB2 all year. It's Tommy DeVito that will get the start against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers coming out the bye. Very surprising, but I think this screams that the New York Giants are going to be in tank mode for the rest of the season. Joe Schoen did come out in his press conference just a week ago and stressed the point that whatever was going to happen here with the New York Giants moving forward at the quarterback position, that it would be a football decision. And I think that this is a football decision, but not one that pans out on the field. This is one that's going to pan out in the front office. A big difference from the way that the fan base thought about tanking last year. A lot of people were definitely opposed to tanking last year and were like, hey, let's go out there and win as many games as we can possibly win and, show that we are a team that's a young team that is still fighting. But now I think a lot of people have kind of just come to the conclusion that this is probably what is right. And Brian Daboll did just speak to the media via Zoom conference just a second ago. I got a chance to kind of just listen in very briefly. Like I said, it has been a very busy morning here. Bleacher Report did hit me up right when the news broke. But Brian Daboll said this was a decision that we needed to make to try to spark things and change things up, which is very puzzling. Shout out to the beat reporters that is out there asking the tough questions, guys like Dan Duggan, guys like Pat Leonard. And I think everybody's really on board now, understanding the dire need at the quarterback position for the New York Giants here. Brian Daboll did say that it's not all just on Daniel Jones. He was asked by Dan Duggan, why weren't you able to get Daniel back to his 2022 level of play? And he took a lot of responsibility for it as well. He said, we went back and we looked at a lot of stuff and we felt that this was the right move. I saw that Pat Leonard definitely tried to press him out a little bit on the fact of starting Tommy DeVito and bringing in Drew Lock to be the quarterback too, and asking multiple times, asking questions about why was this the case to not put Daniel Jones at quarterback two, and also why wasn't it the case to put Drew Lock at quarterback one, being that he had spent the whole entire season playing quarterback two. And he really just dodged those questions and pretty much just said they thought that this was something they needed to do to shake things up. Shout out to everybody, man. Welcome into the building here, man. We're definitely going to just be talking pretty freely today about what happened and what transpired with the New York Giants quarterback position with the benching of Daniel Jones. I thought another interesting thing was that Diana Rossini just a couple of days ago was saying that in the conversations that she had, Daniel Jones may be staying as the starting quarterback here for a few more weeks. And just a couple of days later, that is not the case. The Giants are sitting at 2-8 again, 0-5 at home, a 5-game losing streak. The Giants are 8-19 in the last two seasons. And Brian Daboll is 11-24-1 since a 6-2 start in 2022. And he did speak about why they did not just bench Daniel Jones and come to the conclusion right after the Carolina Panthers game where Daniel Jones struggled. I will pull up those numbers for y'all so y'all can see them here. He finished the day 22 of 37 for 190 yards. He had 2 interceptions, passer rating of 50.5 on the day. Jones ended the first quarter with just 3 passing yards in that game, and it was probably his worst game of the season, if not the worst one since the Minnesota Vikings game. 28 of the 37 attempts were 10 yards or less. Daniel has not thrown 3 touchdowns in 57 straight games. We joked about it over here a ton about the 41 straight regular season games where Daniel Jones did not have back-to-back performances with at least 2 passing touchdowns. And we did get to see Tommy DeVito do that last year, and he only started in 8 games, and he found a way to put together back-to-back games with multiple passing touchdowns. And he also had a game against the Washington Commanders where he had 3 touchdowns as well. Daniel Jones on the year, just 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, a passer rating of 79.4. And since getting that contract, he has just 10 passing touchdowns and 13 interceptions. And I talked about this a little bit on Bleacher Report before we get to the Q&A here and we allow some folks to kind of come into the room here. You see other franchises that have moved on from the quarterback position with no problem. The Pittsburgh Steelers drafted Kenny Pickett just a couple of years ago, and within 2 years, they allowed him to go ahead and find his way with the Philadelphia Eagles and traded him away. Justin Fields was another guy that also was not retained. 3 years in Chicago. You look at Anthony Richardson, shout out to Stan one time. That's his dog. Barely got 10 games before they considered benching him. And now he's back out there on the field with the Colts. He won a game this past week, game-winning drive. Shout out to Anthony Richardson. Josh Rosen, a guy that just 1 year in Arizona, they figured he wasn't the guy. And not only did they figure out that he wasn't the guy, they drafted a quarterback the following draft. 6 seasons of Daniel Jones, 3 different head coaches, 4 different OCs, 2 general managers. And I think it was very likely that if the Giants continued down this path that they were going down, that this was going to be adding another head coach to that list, and it was going to be adding another general manager. And in what seems to be a desperation move for Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll, a move that they had to make to keep their livelihood as far as being the head coach and the general manager alive, they put Daniel Jones on the bench. And the other thing I wanted to bring a little bit of attention to here is that John Mara said, we've done everything possible to screw Daniel Jones up, and we haven't given up on him. And haven't given up on him was probably a bigger mistake than not putting the necessary weapons around him. And I've told you all this on this channel. I disagreed with that. They've given Daniel Jones every opportunity to prove that he can be a serviceable quarterback in this league when no other franchises would have done that. They never brought in any competition as far as the backup quarterback position goes, at least a quarterback that would be given at least a shot to compete for the starting job. They never drafted a quarterback during that tenure of 6 years with Daniel Jones. And it's been 6 years of below average play at the quarterback position. So much to the fact that we lowered the bar and thought that Daniel Jones was a guy that when he threw for 15 passing touchdowns, we thought that maybe we did need to put the pieces around him. And I think that was fugazi, and a lot of us fell for that when in real time, a lot of us had spoke on the Giants should absolutely go with the bridge quarterback exiting the 2022 season. And instead, they ended up paying Daniel Jones $160 million over a 4-year span with $92 million guaranteed. All after having an 8-15-1 record in the NFC East, a 1-15 primetime record, a 2-4 record against the Eagles, and a 1-8 record versus the Dallas Cowboys. A total record for Daniel Jones of 24, 45, and 1. And I think this will be the last game that we see Daniel Jones as the starter for the New York Giants at the quarterback position. And honestly, a lot of people are saying, oh, I hope Daniel Jones, goes off to another team and plays well, or Daniel Jones will likely be a backup in this league for the next couple of years until he gets a chance to prove himself again. Told y'all this before. Daniel Jones strikes me as a guy that's not invested in football. And I'm not saying that he's coming into the New York Giants organization and not putting his best foot forward. But when I just see this guy play on the field week in and week out and go and stand in front of the media week in and week out, to me, it looks like a guy that his best days are behind him. He already got his money. What would be the point of now going on to another team and being a backup quarterback after you literally were just sitting out here getting paid $92 million guaranteed? I'm trying to think of a circumstance or a situation where another backup or another starting quarterback that got paid this kind of money the following year would have ate some humble pie to go be a backup somewhere in the NFL. I can't even think of an egregious type of contract like this where a team has made a mistake like this. Only the New York Giants would do something like this. And John Mara had spoke on Hard Knocks about not being able to get sleep if Saquon Barkley went to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I think the tough part about this for John Mara is not necessarily the Saquon Barkley part, because Saquon is playing some MVP-like football, and he's just doing things that they didn't think that he would be able to do at this age, at this particular time in his career. But I think the big issue here is the Giants doubled down on Daniel Jones. They tripled down on Daniel Jones. And he is playing some of the worst football of his entire career. And it's not even that it's that drastically worse than what we've seen from Daniel Jones in the past. I mean, it's really, for those of us that knew how to assess Daniel Jones after the third year, this is more of the same. And when we went out there and we put all these weapons around Daniel Jones in 2021, it was the last hurrah for most of the fan base who had a rational perspective on the quarterback. You brought in Kenny Galladay. You brought in Kadarius Toney in the draft, John Ross, Kyle Rudolph. And you thought that bringing in these weapons would leave you with zero excuses for Daniel Jones at the quarterback position. But then when that 2021 season was all said and done and he played terrible, they still were making up excuses for Daniel Jones and reasons why he could still be a potential franchise quarterback for this team. It's been a roller coaster of 6 years, and most of this roller coaster feels like it's been going downhill. And I'm one that I hate roller coasters, y'all. I cannot stand a roller coaster. And it's simply for the reasoning that when the roller coaster goes down, it's not the up part. It's when the roller coaster is going down. And we have been on a constant decline with Daniel Jones at the quarterback position for the better part of 6 seasons, outside of a 2022 season, which was an outlier, which, if you ask me, the reason why we got to the playoffs had a lot to do with Saquon Barkley. So much so that Kayvon Thibodeau even came out on a podcast and said that the New York Giants should have paid Saquon first. And these are things that publicly your players on your roster should not be saying. But I like that we are getting to be able to see players' frustration and guys who are ultimately going to get paid eventually here, which make me think about the Michael Lombardi conversations that were being had just a year and a half ago, where Michael Lombardi said, you pay Daniel Jones and you don't pay Saquon Barkley, ? Everyone in the locker room knows the reason they won games was not because of Daniel Jones. He had something to do with it, but he was not the main reason. The players know this. You can't con the players. That was the part that stood out to me. They are not good enough to have the disease in me. And since then, we've watched Julian Love walk in free agency and sign with the Seattle Seahawks. We've watched Xavier McKinney without a squeak of discussion on Hard Knocks leave in free agency and go to the Green Bay Packers and lead the NFL in interceptions. We saw Leonard Williams get traded over to the Seahawks. And the big one is Saquon Barkley going to our division rival, the Philadelphia Eagles, and having one of his biggest games of the season against us. It's been a tough couple of years to be a New York Giants fan. And today, I think that this is a bit of the franchise heading in the right direction and making a decision on the quarterback position that likely should have already been made. Y'all know every stream almost this year I've came up here and I've talked about the New York Giants and how they need to be proactive on the quarterback situation. And I'm glad they did this at least now, before it almost is already too late. But if they hadn't done this during this season, these guys might have been fired. But this is a guy that was overdrafted at the 6th position in 2019. And then you watched Joe Schoen come in here, and the right move was to decline the 5th-year option. The wrong move was to not truly allow Tyrod Taylor to compete in 2022. This might have been a better team with Tyrod Taylor at the quarterback position in 2022. We had to wait all the way until 2023 before the New York Giants realized that Tyrod was a better quarterback than Daniel Jones. And it took injury to do that, 2 injuries. And not only did they double down and let Tyrod take that starting position for a few games, but then when he got hurt, they allowed Tommy DeVito to remain as the starter, which ultimately cost us our quarterback in the 2024 draft. And now we're in a situation where I know a lot of people are thinking maybe Tommy DeVito comes in here, he wins more games than Daniel Jones could win. We'll never truly know, to be honest. We'll never know if Daniel Jones could have went out there and maybe dragged the New York Giants to a victory against the New Orleans Saints or against a battered Dallas Cowboys team or against a struggling Indianapolis Colts team that did go out there and get the W this past week. We'll never know. And now we have to watch what almost feels like we're in a time warp again. With 7 games remaining, Tommy DeVito, not Drew Lock, will go to the starting quarterback position, and we'll have to wait throughout these 7 games and see if the New York Giants can lose enough games to reach a viable enough draft pick to get the quarterback that they want. And before I tap in with y'all here on the chat, I just want to talk about the teams that are surrounding us right now when it comes to having a top draft pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. Right now, the New York Giants are currently sitting at the 5th pick. The Jacksonville Jaguars, who I think is a better team than us, has the number 1 pick. The Tennessee Titans have the number 2 pick. The Cleveland Browns have the number 3 pick. And the Las Vegas Raiders have the number 4 pick, followed by the New York Giants at 5. Now, Some teams are going to have to lose some games. The Tennessee Titans do have to play a couple of games against the Jacksonville Jaguars, which will make things a little bit interesting there. I think that there's no way that both of those teams are going to have a higher draft pick than us unless Tommy DeVito goes on a crazy run. But with a decision being made like this today, it does seem like Joe Schoen and Brian Dable's jobs are safe for the time being. And I don't think that John Mara would allow these guys to go out here and bench their quarterback if there were different plans entering 2025 rather than bringing these guys back to keep their job. And I've always thought that, one, with Brian Dable winning 9 games in 2022 and winning the Coach of the Year, getting a playoff victory under his belt, I thought that that gained this regime an extra year, which is why I think it makes it extremely difficult for John Mara today to fire these guys after he's already fired coaches after 2-year stints, guys like Pat Shurmur, Ben McAdoo, and Joe Judge as well. So I think John Mara's in a really tough situation right now where the fans will give him pushback if they fire Brian Dable, whether we like it or not. And I don't think that Brian Dable has coached this year well enough to guarantee his job. But I agree with the take that Colin Cowherd said after that 2022 season, which was it was going to buy them another year. Had they have struggled throughout these seasons, 3 years in a row like this, I think these guys would have absolutely been fired. But it screams to me that the next hiring of a coach and a general manager for the New York Giants will likely be somebody who has a bit more experience than what we have seen from the last 2 regimes, with Joe Judge being hired as a head coach, Joe Schoen being hired as a general manager, and Brian Dable being hired alongside Joe Schoen as the head coach. A bunch of guys who really don't have that great of a resume outside of the success of Josh Allen at the quarterback position. So today we got the news. Daniel Jones absolutely will not be the quarterback for the New York Giants, likely for the remainder of the 2024 NFL season. So let's get to it. I know the chat is already booming already. I haven't looked at it yet. I see the little bubble up there. It almost looks like a text message that you need to clear. 81 people have already responded. We already got 4 super chats. Let's start right there. Big shout out to the gang for being in the building. I appreciate y'all. I was not even expecting to go live today. The plan for me today was to have my bye week. And I woke up to a text from the Beard at like 9 a.m. and from Bleacher Report saying we would like you to talk about the news that has been broken. And I'm literally wiping the coal out my eye as this is happening. And I go look on social media and everybody is talking about Daniel Jones being put on the bench. And we did a video and we did a segment about this on our stream last week, if you hadn't seen it. And it was like, bench Daniel Jones, should we do that? And I said we absolutely should have. And here we go. The New York Giants go ahead and put Daniel Jones on the bench. Big shout out to Kefla one time in the building for the $5 super chat. He says, yes. I imagine you with the Tiger Woods fist bump right now. Set that garbage quarterback down. Should have been done week 3. I do not disagree with you. Y'all know we've been going through this journey alongside each other, and it's been extremely tough. You know, I told y'all that creating content for the New York Giants has been definitely daunting for me as of late because there's not new news, right? Every week we go in to whatever situation it might be, playing up against whatever team it may be, and we know exactly what to expect from the New York Giants, which is going to be lackluster play at the quarterback position. And also, it's difficult to assess the rest of this roster offensively when you got these guys out there playing quarterback. And this is not to say that Tommy DeVito or Drew Lock is going to fix that, because I think Joe Schoen made a big mistake by not addressing the backup quarterback position in a true, real way. And in real time, people were asking him about this stuff. The beat reporters that, you know, a lot of people like to call, you know, out of their names just because they want to ask the real deal questions, those were the guys that were trying to hold this front office accountable. And looking at the situation with Tyrod Taylor and Drew Lock and really getting no answers from Joe Schoen or from Brian Dable. I watched the press conference just now. I watched it on half of it on real time and then the other half in 2x speed. And Brian Dable just looks like a humbled human being at that podium today without a lot of answers. It's tough, man. It's been tough. Shout out to Kefla, though, for donating to the channel. I definitely appreciate that, fam. Shout out to the homie Brian Rogowski in the building. Little adjustment to the name. B-Rog is in the building. I like the parentheses. Shout out to you, fam. I appreciate you pulling up, rocking out with us. He says, I wanted to see DJ succeed from day one. unfortunately, the Giants made the wrong decision on his draft day. They did. And it's the kind of pick, right, that, you could look at Josh Allen in a similar vacuum, right? When the Buffalo Bills drafted Josh Allen with the 7th overall selection, there were a lot of people scratching their head a little bit. You could see the upside with the talent, obviously. But when you looked at the productivity that he put on the field when he was in college, this was a guy that struggled with completion percentage, struggled with turnovers, and we saw those things trickle into the first 2 seasons of his career in Buffalo. With Daniel Jones, I think that that's what people were hoping, but the reaction when Daniel Jones was drafted, number 6th overall in 2019, you saw it all across social media. You saw it from every one of the content creators in this community. And at that time, you got to understand that we came into the game during the 2019 regular season. So you guys didn't get to see my draft reaction of Daniel Jones or really truly understand how I felt about Daniel Jones in 2019. And I had got a tip, and I'm sure a lot of you did as well, that the Giants were going to go out there and draft Daniel Jones. And we didn't know if it was going to be the 6th pick or I believe it was the 17th pick that we had that year, because we had 2 first-round picks. I'm trying to think when was the DeAndre Baker pick as well. Was that? I think that one was in 2020. But we had Dexter Lawrence as well that we drafted in the first round. And I didn't know that they were going to draft Daniel Jones at 6, but I knew that the Giants wanted Daniel Jones. I know the history of this franchise, and I figured that they were going to go with Daniel Jones over a guy like Dwayne Haskins, and not necessarily just because of the type of character that they wanted at the quarterback position for the New York Giants, but it also had a lot to do with when I looked at these guys' tape. I still have the notes from when I dug deep into both of these guys' tapes and tried to look at every one of their snaps, and I did think that Daniel Jones did some things better than Dwayne Haskins. But when you look at it in hindsight, Dwayne Haskins' numbers coming out of Ohio State, I think was enough that he absolutely, if the Giants were going to go draft a quarterback at 6, Dwayne Haskins should have been the guy that was drafted over Daniel Jones. Rest in peace to Dwayne Haskins. It was my pleasure covering these 2 quarterbacks early on in their careers in 2019 with my co-host and my brother, the Beard, being a Commanders fan. And both of us, it really sparked us to start talking ball online because both franchises got what we thought at the time could be franchise quarterbacks. And I think for the people that knew it was a mistake from day one, it was because they had looked at, the school that Daniel Jones was coming from and understanding how he played in college and understanding that this was one thing that I looked over. The shift of what was happening at the quarterback position in 2019 and a few years before that. And I was still one of the fans that was of the thinking that you could still get it done with these quarterbacks that from a skill standpoint look pretty average, but if they have the tools to be a pocket passer, you could win like that. And from the first game where Daniel Jones played against the Bucs, I started feeling like, man, maybe the Giants were right on this one. And I thought it was an egregious mistake to pay Eli Manning the $20 million to come back that season and then bench him after 2 games. I was one of the people that was like, don't bench Eli. I didn't care how old he was getting. I thought that Eli's 2 Super Bowls was enough for him to be able to lead the New York Giants franchise on his own terms and retire when he wanted to. Instead, the whole Daniel Jones fiasco kind of forced Eli into retirement. Not that his play was not diminishing, but I was okay with watching Eli Manning have a fall from grace after getting the 2 Super Bowl victories. It's unfortunate, but B-Rog, as I'm going to learn to call you now, you're definitely spot on this one. It was definitely a mistake to draft Daniel Jones, along with a bunch of other mistakes during the 2019 draft and entry into the season for sure. Big shout out, no Mets, no Nets, no Jets, with the $4.99 super chat. He says, DJ fleeced the Giants for $100 million. Shout out to him. Additionally, Joe has to go. He had the opportunity to pick his quarterback, and he picked Daniel Jones. And no Mets, I'm still trying to figure out some of these things. And I thought this was going to be a very chill day, but this is going to be a day of a lot of research. Because I'm hoping that more information can come out about why they decided to sign Daniel Jones. We know that within minutes of the tag deadline, the Albert Breer reports came out that said that Daniel Jones made a call to the front office, likely John Mara, and then within minutes, that deal was signed. So I still cannot confidently say whether or not Joe Schoen had 100% to do with why they brought Daniel Jones back. Because who knows, maybe in that office there's a debate that's happening between owner and front office, management, head coaching, staff, all of that. Maybe there is a debate that's happening that we don't know about. I don't know. I'm leaning more towards you on this one, No Mets, that Joe Schoen has not done a good job, not only with Daniel Jones, but just assessing how to operate the quarterback position for the New York Giants from day one. So this isn't just the only blemish on the Joe Schoen tenure here. And I'm about fed up myself. Y'all know I don't like to call for the jobs and whatnot, but if they fire Joe Schoen tomorrow or at the end of the season, I would not have a big issue with it, to be honest. Big shout out, No Mets, No Nets, No Jets, man. Been rocking with us. Been rocking with us for a long time, brother. I appreciate the support. And he dropped another one that said, DeVito starting over Drew Lock equals Joe Schoen. What the fuck? We also have a terrible GM. Yeah, it's a head scratcher move, man. Like, you've had Drew Lock at quarterback 2 all year long, right? And then all of a sudden, Tommy DeVito gives you a better chance to win. This is why I rock with Pat Leonard heavy. He's going to ask the tough questions. He said, you benched Daniel Jones at the beginning of the year, and then when you decided to go back to Daniel Jones after that game, when you benched him in the fourth quarter, you said the reason why you were going back to him is because he gives you the best chance to win. Brian Dable sat up there on the podium today, and he just straight up dodged the question of why would you go to Tommy DeVito today? Do you think that Tommy DeVito gives you the best chance to win? And Brian Dable just dodged the question. Oh, we just thought, we needed to shake things up, and we felt like this was the way to do that. No accountability. And I don't expect them to come out here and tell the fan base everything that's going on behind closed doors. But I do expect them to take some accountability. I expect them to say, yeah, we screwed up. We messed up. This is what's wild about this. Fans were saying, I'm always critical. Y'all know that. Like, I'm always going to look at what our GM or what our head coach is telling us, and I'm going to try to find out what's wrong with it. And after the press conference that Joe Schoen did last week, I posted a couple of the clips on my social media. And I said that Joe Schoen is dodging questions, just like Brian Dable did today, not showing accountability. People argued it within the Twitter spaces, saying that he did show accountability for Daniel Jones. And I'm just like, y'all must not know what accountability, you must not know what true accountability is. Because fans were telling me, what do you expect him to say? He messed up on the contract with Daniel Jones and that his quarterback is no good. Seeing the way that they handled this operation today, yes. You benched the quarterback. You went up on the podium and said that no matter what we do from this point forward is going to be a football decision. And you said that with the insinuation that you meant football play on the field. But in reality, this move is all about the injury clause. And it's all about tanking. I don't know if y'all can see right through this. The Giants are tanking. And that's why they're wheeling out Tommy DeVito as the starting quarterback here. Drew Lock is not going to be a part of the future quarterback room as far as it goes with the New York Giants, right? So why not, one, see what you got in Tommy DeVito when you start the rest of these games, figure out if you're going to part ways with him at the end of the season. But this is a tank job. They know we're right back to where we were at last season. They fucked up the tank last season, right? Because fans, pressure from fans being like, oh, we can't tank. Tanking is for losers and all this shit. The Giants are losers. They've been losing for the better part of a decade, man. So now it took fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, for Giants fans to wake the fuck up and go, these meaningless games right now, after week 10, where the New York Giants are all but eliminated. ESPN has them as a 0% chance of making the playoffs. There's no way they can make the playoffs. So now they decide, because the elimination is earlier in a conference where the front runners are out there. You got the Atlanta Falcons, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that are fighting for the NFC South. One of those other teams is likely going to make the playoffs. You got the NFC North, which I was talking to the Beard about this on our show just recently, that there's a chance that all of those teams in that division could make it to the playoffs. The Chicago Bears entered last week as the number 9 ranked team in the NFC. The Commanders entered last week with the 7th position of the playoff spots. Only 7 are there. So there are teams out there that there's no way that the Giants could even have been thinking about the playoffs for the last 2 to 3 weeks, to be honest. So this move was forced by them. by circumstance. It was forced on them. That if you were to wheel out Daniel Jones for 7 more games, like Diana Rossini was saying that they were leaning towards doing, and he were to get hurt out there and you were to owe him $23 million and cut him, and you're talking about virtually paying him his 2025 salary to not be on the team, there would be no way that John Mara could not fire Joe Schoen. So I think this is a last-ditch effort. I think this is the last way to, one, keep Joe Schoen as the general manager and Brian Daboll as the head coach, but also to give these guys that one last shot to try to go out there and draft their quarterback. Because if things go left and the New York Giants are sitting at pick 5 or pick 6 and the top 3 quarterbacks in 2025 are off the board, what the hell are they going to do? Trade back? Not address the quarterback position? Bring in another bridge guy for another year? Wait for Archie Manning? Is that what we're really going to do? The Giants are not in a position to be able to not draft a quarterback, which would force them likely to reach on another quarterback again. And imagine they do that. Imagine we sitting there picking at 5 or 6 and they reach on a quarterback again like they did in 2019 and we draft Carson Beck or something like that. They had their shot. Honestly, I love Malik Neighbors, the player. Likely going to be the best wide receiver in this entire class. But you had Michael Penix sitting there at 6. Why the hell did you not draft a quarterback? You had J.J. McCarthy sitting there at 6. You had Bo Nix sitting there at 6. I had him in my sleeper section on this past parlay show on Sunday morning because Bo Nix has been playing some really good football at home. Why wouldn't you draft a quarterback? It makes absolutely no sense, man. Shout out No Mets, No Nets, No Jets, man. I appreciate you supporting the channel, my dog. Talking Eco coming in with the $4.99 super chat. He says, Locke not starting makes me worried of Shane's evaluations of quarterbacks. Makes me question if I really want him to draft one. Maybe overthinking it. I don't think you're overthinking it at all. This dude has botched quarterback assessment throughout the whole time they have been here. For one, okay, you decline a 5th-year option on Daniel Jones. Fine. After that, you don't even give Tyrod Taylor a chance to even compete for the starting job. So much so that you had to have Brian Daboll asking Wink Martindale, hey, man, can you chill the fuck out and practice a little bit? You got our starting quarterback looking crazy out here. Then you brought in all these weapons. You doubled down on Daniel Jones. Brought in Darren Waller. Paid Daniel Jones his bread. And it still failed. And that still wasn't enough. He tore his ACL that year. That wasn't enough to go into the next year and go, man, we should draft our quarterback now, get ahead of the evaluation process, start developing a young quarterback right now, even if it was to trade up for an Anthony Richardson or whatever you had to do to come away from the 2023 draft with a quarterback. You don't do it. 2024 comes around. You have a shot, 2 quarterbacks sitting right there. You don't draft a quarterback. You go on Hard Knocks in front of the whole entire NFL world and say, we're going to invest in Daniel Jones like we said from the beginning. We're going to get him a weapon. We're going to beef up this offensive line, and we're going to see what we have in Daniel Jones. That was just 10 games ago. And now you're putting that same quarterback that you said you needed to find out who he was on the bench. None of this shit made sense. None of it. And I think the worst part about it was passing up on a quarterback in the 2024 draft. And now, you know, if we do get a shot to look at some of these other quarterbacks that haven't played as much yet, even a guy like, what's my man, Spencer Rattler. He was there for you in the 5th round. Malik Willis was there for you in the 3rd round, a couple of drafts back as well. And you felt the need to continuously draft for need instead of trying to get a player that could, in the future, maybe help out this roster. I would take Malik Willis over any one of these quarterbacks on this roster right now. So yeah, don't second guess your evaluation as if you're overthinking it, Talking Eco, because they botched this. They ruined this in a major way. And anybody that thinks they need to be fired, I don't got no pushback for you on that. None at all. And Talking Eco also said this is the kind of behavior that cost them Tyrod. Exactly. And how do you think that Drew Lock is feeling right now after John Schneider, the general manager of the Seattle Seahawks, came out in a press conference or in an interview and said that the reason why they allowed Drew Lock to walk was because the Giants made a bid for him that he could possibly be a starter on that roster. And that also was a bunch of bullshit from the New York Giants. And you just have to see it that Drew Lock is looking at this situation like, what did I get myself into? You know, they pitched it to him as if it was a Baker Mayfield-like situation. And clearly that was not the case. And that's unfortunate for Giants fans and also unfortunate for Drew Lock as well. But shout out to Talking Equal. I appreciate you supporting the channel. Shout out my dog John one time with the $10 super chat, man. He says the Giants just ruined Malik's career. Cutlett's going to win some games. Not going to be able to draft Ward, leaving us with Beck scratching my head. Lock's $5 million could have went towards re-signing Saquon. Yeah, I guarantee you the people that have been saying, oh, we couldn't have, brought in the offensive line that we brought in if we signed Saquon Barkley. I bet you, John, they will not be talking about that $5 million of Drew Lock. Listen, it was stupid. The whole plan, everything that the New York Giants did throughout the entire Hard Knocks series to now, it was all stupid. It felt stupid then when we were watching it in real time. It felt stupid when we started off the season 0-2. It felt stupid when we were going into this last week's game against the Carolina Panthers thinking, oh, maybe Daniel Jones will put together a good game, and he goes out there and puts up 2 interceptions. It's been the wrong plan the entire time. And now we got to sit up here and question if we're going to be able to get our quarterback another year. It's not fair. It's not fair to us that we get to watch functioning organizations throughout the entire NFL do the right things at the quarterback position and give us all the data necessary that we need to understand how to operate the quarterback position, and we still can't do it. You know, a lot of fans will give content creators like myself pushback when we don't give them the type of mascot answers that they want from an optimistic lens when it comes to the New York Giants, right? But sitting here from my chair today, I can sit up here and say that when it comes to the quarterback position, I could have assessed it better than Joe Schoen. And that isn't an indictment on not only Joe Schoen, but also this entire organization for hiring guys like that time and time again. Because Authentic is just a fan, man. I'm just a fan. I just watch ball. I watch what goes on across the league. I'm not one of those fans that only looks at New York Giants games and then tries to assess what's going on around that league and also what's going on within the locker room of my team. I compare things to successful organizations like the Los Angeles Rams, who had a guy at the quarterback position in Jared Goff that they thought was not worthy enough to take them to a Super Bowl, who's now sitting there in Detroit with the #1 team in the NFC. And countless times where I had to argue with people, fans, content creators, telling me that Daniel Jones is a better quarterback than that guy that they got rid of, who essentially is the floor for what a franchise quarterback should look like in Jared Goff. Hope and belief, you have to have a foundation to be able to have hope and belief. Just because you are a New York Giants fan, that should not be enough reason for you to go into every season and have hope. And y'all know it. I came into 2024 with zero hope. I thought that the New York Giants were a 4-win team going into free agency, and I thought that they were a 6-win team coming out of free agency when we had just left the draft. And if they could get to 6 wins, man, that would be a miracle right now for the Giants if they could get to 6 wins. And it's just, incompetence from the front office. And not only the move for Daniel Jones, the moves that surround that move. Drafting Malik Neighbors with the 6th overall pick. That's not a future move. If you think that they were doing that for the next quarterback, that wasn't the primary reason why they did that. They prioritized Daniel Jones. They brought in guys like Jermaine Illuminor, John Runyon, Greg Van Roten for Daniel Jones to prioritize their quarterback that they invested all that money in. Imagine spending $92 million guaranteed, $160 million over a 4-year contract, and then thinking that after you screwed that up, that the way that you thought you were going to fix it was by spending $30 million on Runyon, $14 million on Jermaine Illuminor, and signing Aaron Stinney and Greg Van Roten to 1-year deals to add more money to the pot of problems that have been acquired after bringing in Daniel Jones as your starting quarterback. The NFL laughed at us, rightfully so. Big shout out to John, man. I appreciate it, my dog. Shout out my dog, Nick the Wick, one time in the building, man, for the 1999 Super Chat. He says, as a DJ fan, today I am ready for the next chapter. Quarterback, cornerback, defensive tackle in that order. thanks again for Saturday. Big shout out Nick DeWick, man. His buddy AJ Ceres was one of the quarterbacks playing for Rutgers, and he told me that AJ be watching the show every now and again, and that I should pull up on him. I got to take some pictures of him and whatnot, dapped him up, said what's up. Rutgers got a big win against the University of Maryland. They were ecstatic, and I bumped into AJ at the middle of the field, man. That was a good look. Shout out to Nick, man. Been rocking with us since, I want to say 2019, Nick. I was just talking on Bleacher Report about the Odell Beckham jersey, the signed jersey you got me that first season, man. Big salute to you. You've tried to stay on board of the Daniel Jones Express as long as you could. And I think now we're all forced, for the ones that were still left to jump off that bandwagon. It's been tough. But big shout out, Nick DeWick, man. I appreciate you, dog. You've been supporting this channel. And I hope, with your college football career, you get some more visits and everything pans out the way you want it to be, bro. I know you've been grinding. I know you've been working hard, and you deserve that, man. So keep working hard, man. And I think everything you want is right in front of you, dog. I appreciate you supporting the channel again, my G. Talking Eco says that with the $4.99 super chat, he says Tyrod unequivocally the best quarterback in 2022 and 2023, but never let him compete because Daniel Jones must be handled with kid gloves. The locker room must be sick. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys remember that picture of Adoree Jackson. He was hurt for this game, but he was in the background in the locker room when Tyrod was like giving his speech, and Brian Dable and everybody's looking at Tyrod after a big win. And Adoree Jackson's looking at Tyrod Taylor like he had stars in his eyes almost. Like he was gazing at him like he just saw his future wife almost. And I thought from that point on that the locker room knew. The locker room knew who was the better quarterback on this roster. And the coaches maybe, definitely the front office and the owner didn't. Tough situation to be in. I think today is a day to kind of rejoice in a way. And, I'm not one to, I know a lot of people might think this, I'm not one to like truly pile up on just one person. And there is the human factor of Daniel Jones today, right? But I think that for a guy like him, he's blessed. And he should feel fortunate that not only did he get that money from the New York Giants, but that they tried their damnedest to prove to the NFL that he was not the backup quarterback at best that a lot of people had said during the draft evaluations coming out in 2019. I think Daniel Jones is fortunate, and he should be looking at this from the bright side. He's got generational wealth, for decades to come for his family. And I quite frankly think that Daniel Jones is probably one of the worst quarterbacks that got paid that kind of money. There aren't many guys that you can name that got paid big dollars like this kind of generational wealth. As the salary cap goes higher in the NFL and quarterback contracts go higher in the NFL, the economy also goes higher along with that. And most of us, normal, average human beings, you dump $1 million in our lap and that would be game-changing type of money. And Daniel Jones has the blessing of sitting on 92 of them M's. So I think he'll be okay. Big shout out to Talking Eco, though. Platino Powers in the building 2 times. He says, just got out of class. Glad I was able to make it, man. Big salute. Appreciate you pulling up. I did see your tweets too, man. Spot on. Yeah, this a tough. It's weird. It's a day of like realization for the fans that didn't realize it. And it's just one of them times where you're just like, damn, we really went through that. Like, y'all, my first podcast was the first game that Daniel Jones got here as the starting quarterback for the New York Giants. Like, we've turned this into a career since. And it's just wild. This was just something that was like, man, we just, let's go talk ball. We do it all the time at the homie's crib anyway. Let's talk some ball on the internet so we can leave a track record of our thoughts on, our respective football teams. And here we are 6 years later, and it's finally, we think it's finally coming to an end. It's been wild. It's definitely been wild, man. Shout out Platino Power 2 times for the $1.99 super chat. And shout out to the champ here one time. Muhammad Ali is in the building with the $1.99 super chat. He says, on the way to class, knew I had to catch the stream. Big salute to y'all, man. I appreciate y'all on a day like this. Y'all are thinking about what we do over here at Authentic in the Beard. I'm not going to keep y'all here that long today, but I did want to tap in with the chat and just kind of see the vibes of how everybody's really handling this situation with the whole Daniel Jones stuff And, reiterate some of your points if you can, because the chat, it was just flying in the beginning. I will scroll back and see what a lot of y'all are talking as well. Y'all know that we don't necessarily, we're not in this for no super chats or in this for the dollars or nothing like that. But I do want to prioritize those people that, put their money forward to say comments. But this is about everybody. This is about the whole family over here at Authentic in the Beard. We've endured this type of quarterback play now for so long. And, really going into these seasons with the lack of hope necessary to really be invested in this team. It's been tough for me. I know it's been tough for y'all, but, going into these games on Sundays and really going against my gut, because I'm a fans fan. The Beard will tell you, we lived together for a long time throughout the beginning portion of the podcast and even before that. And, I was that fan that, like, dude, I would be jumping around my living room. Like, I damn near hurdled our dining room table one time off the strength of a play that I thought was a successful play, ran and jumped as high as the damn dining room table, and then looked back and there was like a flag on the play or something. I collapsed and crumbled. I am a fans fan. I'm invested in this team. And through the years, that fandom has been wavered. And a lot of it has to do with the quarterback position. I'm not going to solely put it on Daniel Jones, but a lot of it has to do with what has gone down at the quarterback position, man. It's just been so tough knowing that you have a bottle cap at the top of the quarterback position, and that elite play is something that you're never going to sniff as a Giants fan with Daniel Jones at the quarterback position. It's been hell. It really has been hell. And the wavering and, this is the other thing I think about before I move on. The amount of relationships that have been terminated off the strength of Daniel fucking Jones. There's no way I could not talk about this today on this stream. Like, there are people, I could name off people that they literally do not fuck with me because I did not believe in Daniel Jones. I got these bozos attacking my livelihood. I got these bozos attacking my personal life. I got these bozos attacking my appearance. If I would have had more information public, these people would have been attacking all of that stuff. I've had people go on to Instagram and leave comments on some pictures of mine. I've had people that have been over the past 6 years in my mentions, literally day in and day out. I had a dude, and this dude's a fucking bozo. He's a fucking bozo. He's been a Daniel Jones stan the whole fucking time. He thinks I can't assess football, and this dude thinks that he should be a fucking scout for the NFL. This motherfucker showed me a picture of his car, of him in his car, y'all, in a BMW at that, with a gun on his lap, talking about, I don't want to see him in a fight. You know how bitch you gotta be? And I hope he see this, because he's on his stalker type of vibes, right? He's always in my mentions. I had to block this motherfucker the other day, because I love those new blocking rules that Twitter has now, where you block them and they're gonna be able to see everything that you post from that point on. But this bozo, and then he went and he deleted the picture before I went and could respond to it. Like he thought somebody was going to be shaking in their boots off that bullshit. But you got to think about it. These motherfuckers, they present that type of behavior publicly over Daniel Jones, y'all. I got dudes that have been like, man, this dude been talking ball in his one-bedroom apartment for the past 5 to 6 years, making up a bunch of bullshit. I damn near get these motherfuckers a tour of the crib. They invited. If they ever want to pull up on me, some of these fools live in the DMV. If you ever want to pull up, you can pull up. But literally, they do all of this because of Daniel Jones. Not a quarterback that you could put on a teetering line, right, like a Jared Goff, or not even a quarterback that has not even been given the opportunity like an Anthony Richardson. People have been literally going at a war on Twitter over Daniel fucking Jones. If there's anything that I am glad that is over, it is that part of it. Because I assess the game the way I see it. It got to the point where this was beyond delusion for me. I felt like this was insanity now. This was beyond delusion. Delusion, I get it. You want your quarterback to win games. But then when you going out there, I had people making up fake pages of mine on Twitter. I got a bozo who made a page called Not Authentic. I got dudes that literally will tag some of your NFL Hall of Fame players or former New York Giants to try to tell them about an opinion about little old Authentic, right? And now all that shit is pretty much over. and I can go in on Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and at least try to root for my team and feel good about it. And I guarantee you this, them dudes won't be in my DMs or my mentions no more. I guarantee you that. And it was goofy then, and it's goofy now. And I thought that, speaking of goofy, right? When Carl Banks put a target on Giants fans that are, even if they are overcritical of Daniel Jones, and he thought that it was goofy of them, come on, dog. This dude has not been a good quarterback, man. And the fact that a quarterback that's not even good has divided this fan base is crazy. It's crazy. Because anybody that's been tuning into what we do over here on Authentic in the Beard, or even the tweets that I put out there on social media, on Twitter and whatnot, there's one thing that you can understand about me. I don't go after nobody. You never gonna see me in somebody's mentions calling somebody a clown, calling somebody a fuckboy, saying, man, your opinion ain't shit. You never gonna see that from me unless I am attacked first. And then the Beard can vouch for this. You get to take a bow authentic, which that guy, now it's like you're on the other side. Once you disrespect me, when I never disrespected you, I got to put you on the other side. And I'm going to treat you accordingly. I'm going to treat you a certain way. But it's wild, man. Like, with all my homies that we talk ball with on Twitter, and shout out to all my dogs, man. Bass, Sal, Mike C, 1T, shout out D Brown, all these dudes, Momo, that we all talk ball with. We literally, this how we all became homies, that over the summers, over the past couple of years, we would talk ball every damn day. Stan, Mace, all the homies, all be in those chats, right? And we were the space on Twitter that was like, hell no to Daniel Jones. I clicked up with them dudes probably around maybe like the beginning of 2022. And no one's going to come into our Twitter spaces. Not a lot of people. Shout out to some of the people that have been eating crow, though. It's a dude on Twitter named Sino, came into the spaces and he ate crow. This dude was wanting to kick down doors for Daniel Jones for a while. And he came in and he ate crow a little bit. So shout out to the few singular people that did do that. But all these people that have been clamoring that Daniel Jones is a franchise quarterback without the necessary pieces around him, they not coming back. They not coming back, bro. They're going to act like none of this shit happened, which I'm already dealing with it. Even with other content creators, they're acting like, oh man, Authentic, you think you deserve a pat on the back because you were off the Daniel Jones train before we were? Bro, like, there's a difference in being off the train than advocating for a player all the way up until about last season. So I feel there's a bit of me that feels a bit like how Saquon Barkley felt before the 2022 season. Like, I still don't want to fuck with y'all. You know what I mean? Like, yo, stay on that side. You can stay on that side for the rest of my Giants fandom, because the fact that you can allow a player to come in and not only have you acting like a pure fucking asshole on social media, but divide the fan base, you a goofy motherfucker. Let's just keep it real and let's just call a spade a spade. Like, I'll never allow football opinion to make me be like, man, I don't like that dude. I might be like, I don't like his takes. It might, trickle into the opinion of the person a little bit. But at the end of the day, I'm man enough to be like, look, man, his football opinion does not matter to me. Like Carl Banks standing up, I see a lot of people talking about Banks in the chat. Carl Banks has been on the Daniel Jones side all the way up until about like 2 or 3 weeks ago, right? His opinions that I thought were terrible on Daniel Jones are not enough reason for me to be like, man, I don't rock with Carl Banks. Hell no. Carl Banks a good dude. The fact that he even engages with Giants fans is a plus for us. He's a legend. Carl Banks sent me a New York Giants championship jacket that till this day I've never seen nobody wear it. And it's really been a bit of a downer that I can't wear the jacket. Like, you know how when you see somebody like yo, and I'm rapping, but like, I'll see these dudes in the like mall or like in the grocery store or something like that, and they be wearing that jacket to have like all the NBA patches on it. No disrespect to you if you one of them dudes, right? But I always look at them dudes like, look at this goofy motherfucker with this jacket with all these patches on, right? And that's how I would feel right now if I wore my Giants jacket on a stream. Like, Look at this fanboy right here. With his team sitting at 2-8, this man has on a championship New York Giants jacket. Like, there's no place. That jacket has been in my closet since I moved in this house. I have not taken it out. I have not taken it out. Because I'm not going to be one of them dudes. I'm not going to be like all overly wearing my stuff out in public. I'll rock a hat. I wore a hat to the store today, and I was hoping somebody was like, hey, man, I heard y'all quarterback got benched. I was hoping so I could spark a conversation, but I was in and out real quick in between the Bleacher Report stream and this one. But it's just been tough, man. It's been tough. Like, the fact that I can't wear my good New York Giants gear, you know, sometimes I'll question, like, am I even going to wear a Giants shirt on the stream? Because I just never been one of them dudes, man. Like, I've been a fan for so long, and this team broke me to the point where, like, I'm not about to be up here, like, buying Daniel Jones jerseys. I never even bought a Saquon Barkley jersey, and I feel a little bit bad about that because Saquon was a good player. And then you got fans that got the audacity to be taping over his name. They did it with Odell, and now they do it with Saquon Barkley. It's crazy. And I see y'all in the chat, man. It's yeah, I am Jarrell. You already know that. Them patch jackets, bro. It's like, who is your team, bro? Like, why are you wearing a jacket with 100 patches on it? Should not be a thing. And every time I think about the New York Giants in that jacket, right? I think about Kobe Bryant when he's holding the trophy and he has on that jacket and it's like all the work was done. One of these days, I'm going to do a dramatization version, and I'm gonna emulate that. I'm going to emulate that picture with the hat forward, the jacket, trophy in the hand. When the New York Giants get back and we win some games, I think that's when that jacket's going to come back out the closet. It's been tough, man. It's been tough. And I see y'all, man, like, it's a happy day, but it's also like, damn, why did it take this long? It should not have took this long. Shout out to Bergs one time in the building with the 199 super chat. He says, Bo Nix playing good right now makes the Giants look goofy. Absolutely, man. Every quarterback from that draft class, it's almost every quarterback. Like, the Giants could have wheeled out Spencer Rattler, and he could have played the way that we saw him in preseason and the way that we saw him during the regular season, and we would still be okay with that. We'd be like, he's a rookie. But when you got to see 6 rookies go out there, 5 of the 6 now go out there playing some decent football, or we'll say 4 of the 6 because Michael Penix really hasn't played yet, neither has J.J. McCarthy. It makes the Giants franchise look like the clowns that they are. It's tough, man. Shout out to Bergs, though. I appreciate you, my dog. And shout out to SOS Archives. He says, I'm convinced some of these people were DJ's family and friends on burner accounts, and some of them were. Man, like, dog, I'll never forget this. Two situations. I'll never forget the first one. The playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings. I went out to a local bar here in D.C. that is like the Giants bar. And I sat next to this dude, young black dude. He's probably like in his mid-20s. And he was on the athletic training staff for the Duke Blue Devils. So he built a relationship with Daniel Jones. And me and him were having arguments during the game because Daniel Jones is obviously balling out during Minnesota. And I'm sitting there saying, like, yo, I don't care how good this game is. Don't pay him the contract. Franchise tag him. And he told me that he had a little bit of a, some information on the situation, right? That the Giants were going to franchise tag Daniel Jones. And I was like, man, I'll believe it when I see it. So we added each other on Facebook. And when the contract came out, I went and reached out to this dude, bro. Crickets. He was no longer there to be found. If y'all know Brian Perez, he was just on the last Giant Overreaction in the chat talking about how Daniel Jones is playing some pretty good football and how that game was not his fault. And he went to Duke as well. And, I think that breeds a lot of new New York Giants fans. But, man, as an adult, I find it just very overboard when everything is pointing to this guy not being the guy and you still try to be a bit delusional in your assessment of him. And I don't mind people if they just would have said, yo, I'm rolling with Daniel Jones. I don't care, good, bad, ugly, pretty, whatever. I'm rolling with Daniel Jones until he's not the quarterback no more. Instead, they try to convince us that it was everything else around him. And if you think about the amount of players that we have lost because of that, guys who were brought in to fill a void that when Daniel Jones went to the quarterback position and was not decisive, I always tell y'all a decisive quarterback is the offensive lineman's best friend. Think about how many offensive line careers of these players have been ruined because you don't have the guy at the quarterback position. Coaches, positional coaches, head coaches. It's terrible. And honestly, it looks like the biggest mistake that Dave Gettleman made during his tenure was drafting Daniel Jones at 6 overall. It really does. It's tough, man. Tough day. And we know it's not coming no time soon for the Giants as far as becoming a competitive franchise. We know that. We definitely know that. D Nice is in the building. I'm going to start from here. And we'll run through a bunch of chat here for at least another half an hour. And like I said, if you want to reiterate some of the things you may have said earlier, or if you have any questions, anything you want answered by me or by anybody in the chat, bring it to my attention. If you have a question, put a Q in front of it. It'll help me identify it a little bit faster. But I'm going to just kind of run through some of the stuff from the chat here because I think y'all deserve this, not only on this stream, but throughout the season with the way that this Giants team has been. We'll start from here. D Nice says, can't take people who work for the Giants serious. They'll never be honest. This is a fact until it's too late, right? Because you're looking at a guy in Tiki Barber who said that he would take Dak Prescott over Daniel Jones 100 times out of 100. I guarantee you he does not feel that same way about that today. And guys like Carl Banks and guys who work for the franchise that, yeah, they have to walk into the facility and they have to, see these guys face to face. I get it. I can't sit up here and say that I would react to those situations any different. I can't. I think it's a tough place to be in where when you work for an organization and they're not playing well and they've invested in these players, how can you come out and go against that grain? I think that makes things very awkward when you see these people in the building. And you know how it is. If I work with you at your job, me and you are both employees of a company, and I'm going around being like, that dude ain't doing his job that well, or scrutinizing a decision that you made. Maybe you decided it was in the best interest of the company to move a certain way, and they moved that way. And here I am publicly saying that was not the right way to move. You're going to look at me a certain way when you get to work. So I definitely understand it. Barry Smith says, I wore my jersey to celebrate us getting a better draft pick last week. I thought about it. When they brought out the legacy uniforms, I like wearing mine when they do that. And I thought about it, but I just didn't do it. I just didn't do it. Kudos to you, Barry. Mike K says, I got clowned by the receptionist at my dentist. That's crazy. I wonder if you was wearing some gear, Mike, because you just walk in, you just chilling, wearing your Giants hat or something. You don't even remember you still got it on, and then you getting clowned, and when you get to the dentist office, it's kind of crazy. I Am Jarrell said the patch jacket is the corniest jacket of all jackets. Yeah, so I'm from, the DMV. So there was a time, I don't know if these got hot up top in New York, but in the DMV, there was a time where the racing jackets were like the thing. I feel like we put the country onto that. Y'all might correct me. But the racing jackets used to kind of have a look like that with the multiple patches, but them joints was definitely fire. These like multiple patch NBA ones, them things are just god awful. SOS Archive says, yeah, Banks and them are homers. I can't stand that shit. They're in a tough position, man, and I'm friends with a lot of these people. Carl Banks being one of them, John Schmuke with BBK as well. And I just think that their whole thing is like they're around the coaches, they're around the staff, and that makes it tough to assess them, to assess the players and to do a good job of assessing what the front office people are doing as well. It's tough. I definitely feel you. Corey Robinson says, big fan of your work, bro. You are one of very few Giants fans who is honest about this franchise. My first time in the live chat. Big salute to you, Corey. I appreciate you, man, and voicing your opinion on the type of content that we do over here, man. That means a lot because, when you think about reviews, for the most part, right, if I eat, let's say, at the nearest pizza place or whatever, and the pizza's good, I'm not going to leave a review for the most part. Most people that leave reviews on, something that they are either intaking as far as a meal or even content-wise, they're normally going to leave the comment that's the negative comment because that's what gets you riled up, right? You're like, oh, man, screw this guy, man. Your content stinks, bro. And I think that's very honorable of you, man, to come in here and, for a first time in a chat and let us know your thoughts on the way that we've been doing our job over here. That means a lot, man, because, one, it's very easy for content creators to focus in on the negative comments, which I'm guilty of doing that sometimes on social media. Like, I'll have 100 good comments, and then one dude will say something crazy, and I'm at him. So I definitely appreciate that. We're all human, man, and yeah, that's what it is. I appreciate you, Corey. That means a lot, my dog. Giants guy says, watch the Giants start winning games. It's a possibility. It really is. Toxic Tom says, I was in Foggy Bottom on the Silver Line last week. Well, that's what's up, bro. I had a Dallas Cowboys hat on, and a homeless guy laughed at me and said, Dallas sucks. Yo, that's great. Hey, that's the city for you, bro. That is the city right there. That is the city right there. He gave you one of these, bro.
Spike don't care.
That's hilarious, Tom. That's hilarious. Mike Jones is in the building. Mike Jones says, shit, at this point, I'm rooting for all the teams ahead of us in the draft for about the last 3 to 4 weeks. Obviously, yes, we got 7 games left. The Giants could go out there and lose every last one of them. I don't care coming up here publicly saying that I'm rooting for the tank. I am. Yes, absolutely. Talking Nico says, I won't even be buying a Leak jersey until I know the direction of the franchise because he might be gone in 4 years. Yeah, you got to keep that in mind, like they have not dealt with these players and drafting these players, more importantly, in the proper fashion. Let me see. Deilla says, shoot, my wife has bought me numerous Giants jerseys for Christmas that I can't even wear anymore. Pisses me off that she spent her hard-earned money on it, scratching my head. Yeah, man, it's tough, man. My girl knows now to not buy no players for me. She's been buying the Giants gear over the last few holidays and whatnot. Hats, hoodies. I got so much Giant stuff, man. I got the big ass like flag you would hang out in front of your house. I got multiple blankets. I got socks. I got big, house slippers. I got house slides. I got towels, man. I got so much New York Giants stuff. It's ridiculous. But good thing my girl wasn't buying the jerseys. Trying to think. No jerseys. She knows that if I'm buying a jersey, I have to be very invested in that player. Let me see. Tone Blue says DJ's new name is Bench Montana. God dang, that's crazy. That's crazy. I feel you, fam. I feel you. Let me see. I think we got another super chat in here too. Oh, we got a couple of them. Yeah, let's catch up on those real quick. Shout out to the homie Pal, man, coming over from Bleacher Report, representing with the $4.99 super chat. He says, I hope we can now get the right quarterback. Also, we might need to restart GM and coach, because going on year 4, we might not be good next year too. They might get fired by then. And it's absolutely something that John Mara is thinking about right now. It's, do I fire these guys and deal with the scrutiny from the fan base of firing coaches after 2 seasons? It's 3 seasons now with the New York Giants, so I guess, you got a little bit of leeway there. But nonetheless, going to be some tough decisions made in the front office of the New York Giants. And it's not going to surprise me if they fire these guys. But at the same time, I feel like John Mara might be invested in them. The Knicks Realist is in the building with the $5 super chat. Shout out to the Knicks Realist one time. It kind of looked like my dog Noah, but I don't think that's him. It kind of looked like him in the picture, but I don't think that's him right there. He says, please, no Linsanity run again. Tommy Cutlets, please, Cam Ward. Yeah, I think, how would Tommy DeVito do it? How would he do it? I don't think he's going to be able to get it done with his arm, which is why I think that this decision to go to Tommy DeVito and not Drew Lock proves that they are tanking. Because I think if you put out Drew Lock out there, he's got the arm strength to be able to stretch the field and make some big plays, keep the Giants in some games. Tommy DeVito, similar style of quarterback when it comes to the turnovers and being able to use his legs. Look, I'm going to just keep it real with you. I don't think that Tommy DeVito is going to win many games. I really don't. I don't think this is going to provide a spark, like Brian Dable said. And I think the Giants are going to lose a lot of games here. The Dallas game on Thanksgiving is going to be a pivotal one. Hopefully we can come out and not get the W there, to be honest. And then the Colts game, I think, is going to be another one. And then Saints. And I think there's one more winnable game on the schedule. But Dallas definitely presents an opportunity. They're a bad team right now. And you got to hope that Philly doesn't dominate the division and rest their starters in the final week of the season. But I think we're in good hands. I really do. I don't think we'll get the Linsanity run again. And it's going to be a lot more fun for me watching Tommy DeVito this go-round. I'll keep it real. I wasn't rooting for him last time. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets comes in with the $4.99 super chat. He says Harlem debuted the racing jackets and basketball jackets, Jeff Hamilton and Mitchell and S. Now, look, I'm talking even before that. Like, let me think about this when I had that racing jacket. This is probably I was probably in the 4th grade when my brother got that M&M racing joint. So I'm thinking like I was 9. Yeah, so I'm thinking like 1992. This is like right after the bomber jacket left. The first go round, the racing jackets came back. It's before Mitchell and Ness was like involved in a lot of the creation of fan gear. Like when Jay-Z was going on the tour wearing all the Mitchell and Ness jerseys all oversized and whatnot. This before that. So I'm telling you, I think I'm gonna do a little research on this, and you in the area too. I really think that the DMV area started that, DC in particular. I really think that. I know there's a debate about Timberlands too. Like up top, a lot of New York folks look at Timberlands as like that was y'all stuff, but I don't know, man. Down here in DC, man, we was on them Chucka Tims early when y'all was still rocking Wallabies. I'm gonna do a little digging into it. I'm not sitting up here trying to say we're some trendsetters when it comes to fashion, but them racing jackets might have been us. I don't know, possibly. But shout out No Mets, man. I appreciate you, bro. Supporting the channel. Joe Winograd says, coming in with the $10 super chat. He says, I'm here to leave my positive comment, bro. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you do, living up to your channel's name. DeVito over Locke, we need answers. Yeah, and they're not going to give them to us. They dodged a lot of the questions Brian Dable did in the press conference today, just pretty much saying we needed a spark. So I think that they're invested in the tank, Joe. This is what it is. They want to tank. They want to try to get their quarterback. It's not going to surprise me if we see some very vanilla-like game plans coming out here with Tommy DeVito at the quarterback position. And I think even Brian Dable will actively be trying to do things to tank this season away so that they can guarantee that the Giants get their quarterback in this draft, because I think that's the only saving grace for Brian Dable as the head coach with the New York Giants, is to bring in a rookie quarterback and get the right one and see a little bit of success while doing that. But big shout out to Joe, man. Appreciate you supporting the channel too, my dog. All right, so let's get back to the chat here one time. I almost want to catch up because I know like the live chat is really where it's at, but a lot of people just pointing out, the overly committed fans and the way that they look at things and whatnot. And yo, Bluegrass, you wild. Bluegrass said every drug dealer in Missouri wore that 8-ball leather jacket in the early 2000s. Yeah, and them 8-balls was earlier than that too. I remember that. DC people was wearing them 8-balls early on. Yo, the 8-ball jacket goes back to like Salt and Pepper in the early 90s too. They was wearing one in one of the music videos. That's a good point right there. Let me see who else we got here. Toxic Tom said the 90s style of retro NFL gear is nice though. Yeah, I don't. Some of the new stuff is just they're not designing it right. There was one I saw on a new era like a corduroy type joint that they was kind of paying homage to the old school vibes, and it had the 80s Giants logo across the front, but then right here had a big ass NY, and I'm like, y'all just ruined that, bro. Like they need new people. I love the stuff that Kiss did during the season, but they need new people at New Era and just with the NFL in general designing some of this gear, because it's just not, the gear is not it. Valentino says, say we win a few games with DeVito and end up with, say, the 6th pick, I like how you say the 6th pick, potentially quarterback needy teams ahead. Who are you willing to move off of, or what would you package to solidify a move up for our guy? Love this question. I talked about this today on Bleacher Report. I've gone full circle. No player is off limits for me. You could trade away Dexter Lawrence. You could trade away Andrew Thomas. You could trade away Brian Burns. I would maybe not touch anybody in the 2024 draft class, Malik Neighbors in particular. Everybody else is expendable. You could trade Kayvon Thibodeau, Deonte Banks, all of them. I don't care at this point, yo. So get me my quarterback. That's how I'm looking at it. Get me my quarterback by any means necessary. I don't care if you got to look. It could come out that the Giants draft Cam Ward and a year later that they conspired and did some illegal shit. I would not care. Go get me my quarterback. Shout out Problem one time in the building. Problem says, I got to thank you, Authentic, because these agonizing years have been brutal, but I had these live streams to look forward to, man. Salute to you, bro. Thank you, man. I've learned a lot from y'all as fans. I hope you learned something when you tune into me and the Beard 4 days a week over here, man. That definitely means a lot. Sebastian says, never understood the people who has a Jones jersey. They going to be at all the outlet stores real quick. Yeah, man, look. So when I used to live in Edgewood in D.C., there was a Foreman Mills like at the end of the block. And I used to go peek in there. Like, they would get like old NFL gear and stuff like that. And I'd get like all my socks and wife beaters and shit like that from there. And you'd go in there and they would have like a rack, like literally a whole rack of RG3 jerseys. And RG3 did more for his franchise, respectively, than Daniel Jones did. They were selling them things for $5. They were selling those for $5. I don't know what it's looking like in New York right now when you go to these outlets. I wouldn't imagine that them Saquon Barkley jerseys are just out there for that cheap yet. But if they are, hey, somebody find me a large, man. Send me one over here. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not, and an Odell Beckham jersey, for real. But, like, I wouldn't be opposed to the fans who still wear those jerseys. But them Daniel Jones jerseys, bro, very interesting. Ches V says, that kid from Oregon is a great quarterback. I like Cam Ward as well. Yeah, like, I've dug in on about 7 quarterbacks right now. And you also got to consider the ones that are actually going to be coming out in this draft as well. But to me, there's only 2, maybe 3 first-round talents, and I think that Jalen Milroe would be the other first-round talent to pair with Shadur Sanders and Cam Ward. But we'll see. Shout out Bookend Tackles. He says, I wanted to see him behind a better line. I got that. He's too hesitant. Unfortunate because he has the physical tools, just can't get the head right. Yeah, there is a portion of the physical game that Daniel Jones does have. But this, to me, what is the most important physical trait from an NFL player, it's something that is almost unidentifiable. You can just see it, though. An athlete, when he steps on the field, you know when he's an athlete. You know when he was the guy that dominated as a kid coming up throughout high school and throughout college, not only in the respective sport that he plays, but in other sports as well. Like, when you look at a guy like Malik Neighbors, you could put a basketball in his hand and you would know you would be in good hands. With Daniel Jones, not so much. We talked about this a couple of streams ago, Bookend. Like, we literally have the only quarterback in the NFL that is starting right now that is like, doesn't have the true athleticism it takes to be in this league. For lack of a better word, he's the only quarterback that's starting right now that looks goofy out there when he's doing it. And that was the part that always bothered me about Daniel Jones, because if you're not going to be the guy who's the athletic freak and have all the agility in the world to do the things that we see from guys like Lamar Jackson, guys like Josh Allen, guys like Patrick Mahomes, then you need to be a guy who can do it extremely well between the ears and from the pocket. And Daniel Jones ain't that guy. And that is Noah, man. I thought that was you, dog. Salute, man. Good to see you in the building, man. I hope everything is well with you. That's my dog right there. Shout out Mal Murchison. I hope I said that right. He says, DeVito probably knows the playbook better than Locke. He may have improved his play with all his downtime. We'll have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see until this week coming up. But I think the part that is just a blemish on the front office and Brian Dable as the head coach is that if that was the case, then Tommy DeVito should have been quarterback 2. You should have put Tommy DeVito in the game when you decided to bench Daniel Jones. But I don't disagree with you. Havoc says, how about we didn't pay a quarterback $40 million to hand off to, ? Watching Tommy or Drew? That's crazy. I didn't think that this was going to happen this year. I really didn't. I really didn't think that there was any way that they would get to the point where they were benching Daniel Jones after the bye, not for the injury clause necessarily, but just because of the play being that bad on the field. It's wild. It is definitely wild. Deilla says that for all of us embracing the tank like myself, at least Mike Evans comes back for the Bucs this week. Yeah, that's going to help out a lot. They need him. Without Chris Godwin being out for the season now, they're going to need him. But they gave the San Francisco 49ers a good run for their money without him. So, but I'm right there with you. Like, the better players out there on the field for the Bucs, it's the better situation for the New York Giants. Corey Robinson says, our schedule is pretty hard moving forward. Anyways, I really hope we lose out, man. Yeah, and for those of y'all that want to check out the games, let me bring that to y'all attention. Shout out Corey for talking about that too. So these are the remaining games for the New York Giants on the bottom row. Got the Bucs, Cowboys, Saints, Ravens, Falcons, Colts, and Eagles. But, I mean, we should lose out. We really should not win any of these games. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys, I think, on Thanksgiving is the most likely victory. The Saints have been playing better football, and the New York Giants are a shell of themselves when they play at home. So I think the Bucs and the Saints can beat us. The Baltimore Ravens should mop the floor with us. The Atlanta Falcons are starting to kind of get in the right direction, but the last couple of weeks have looked like a bit, of a middling team with that loss to the Saints. And then Who they play this past week? I forget who they played this past week, but it was a somebody will let me know in the chat who the Falcons played. But I think it's a game where you could win, but I don't foresee us winning. The two games against the Falcons and the Colts are the ones that are probably like, okay, you could possibly win those games. But we'll see, man. I'm hoping on, we completely lose out. That's how I want it to be. I would love to see the Giants just completely lose out. And I see Brian Perez is in the building. I got to bring some attention to my dog. He's been the most delusional New York Giants fan when it comes to Daniel Jones, but he's still my dog. And Brian Perez is actually proof that no matter how you feel about a player, that don't mean that I'm going to judge you, the person, because me and Brian, that's my dog right there. He's a good dude. He says, I know you're happy, authentic. Congrats, bro. You got what you wanted. Yeah, just a little bit too late, Brian. That's the problem. These are circumstances that should have been underneath a microscope dating back to a few years ago. And Daniel Jones shouldn't have been the starting quarterback for the New York Giants entering 2023, let alone 2024. All of that was a big mistake. Huge mistake, actually, on their part. But, Brian, I appreciate you being here. Yeah, semi eating some crow right now. I missed you the last couple of weeks, because Daniel Jones ain't been playing good. I ain't seen you too much on Twitter talking too much, but good to see you in the building, man. You already know I got a lot of love for you, bro. And I'm sure that this is a tough day for you being a former Duke alumni, and your boy is headed to the bench and likely out of a starting job in the NFL here come the beginning of 2025. Let me see. I think we got a couple of more super chat. Yo, y'all are bringing in the super chats. I appreciate y'all supporting the channel. That definitely goes a long way. Shout out Jaden one time in the building with the $4.99 super chat. Okay. He says, Shane and Dable had fans thinking Penix and McCarthy were not worth the 6th pick and had fans laughing at a future Hall of Fame head coach for drafting Knicks. Insane. Yes. There's been so many mistakes, man. It's hard to sit back and pinpoint one or the other. But the Penix thing, it was very, relieving seeing the Atlanta Falcons, an NFL franchise, take some things that when I was looking at tape that, Michael Penix was a guy, that he could be a guy in this league, and that the Falcons saw it that same way. It was great validation for me because a lot of us, me, my homie 1T, even D-Kit, at D-Kit on Twitter is another one who was really high on Michael Penix Jr. All of us really wanted Michael Penix, but we knew that we weren't going to be able to get him in the second round. And, to see Joe Schoen and them not even highlight him on the Hard Knocks show, I think they said his name one time and acted as if he couldn't be a franchise quarterback, and to see the Atlanta Falcons go out there and draft him, that was very validating for me. It let me know that, I don't know ball like a head coach, obviously, but at least the evaluation that, from what I saw on tape of Michael Penix, was accurate. So we'll see. We'll see, man. And then looking at Sean Payton as a guy that, was out of his mind for parting ways with Russell Wilson, who is playing some good football himself, and the Giants had a chance to bring him in, but they said he couldn't be the starter. With the Broncos going with Bo Nix, who's playing some good enough football right now to win some games. Big shout out to them. And big shout out to Jaden, man. I appreciate that, my dog. No Mets, no Nets, no Jets coming in with the $4.99 super chat. Okay. He says, let me scroll down off this one real quick. If you had them jackets in 92, you got it. You definitely got Nike boots. He says, you for sure don't got Tim's, though. I like this convo. Shout out to Authentic in the Beard. Yeah, man, look, all right, I'm going to give you the Timbs for now, no Mets. I'm going to give you the Timbs. You gave me the racing jackets. You gave me the Nike boots. I'm going to give you the Timbs. That's 2 for 1. I'm all for that. All right, I'll give New York the Timbs, but I'm going to do a little bit of research on that. I don't know, man. Was y'all wearing the Timbs? Were y'all flapping the tongues down at one point and tucking the jeans in the Timbs? I'm curious if y'all was doing that too. But shout out no Mets, no Nets, no Jets. That's my dog right there. B-Rog is in the building one time. He said, we saw what Locke was in 2020. It is more or less what we have now, slightly better. Let me see DeVito. At least I can see someone excited to play quarterback. I'm not mad at that. And last year, I kind of gave a lot of pushback on the Tommy DeVito movement and the whole fan base doing all this shit. I hated it. I ain't gonna lie. But I'm looking forward to seeing him play against the Bucs, man. and seeing what the change looks like. Because we know this is not a good team, right? But you want to see how different positions can be evaluated with a different player at the quarterback position. So big shout out to B-Rog, man. I appreciate you, my dog. Emilio Frederick with the $5 super chat. What's going on, dog? Okay. He said, tank. The front office needs to stay focused on a long-term solution at quarterback in this upcoming draft. Do not start winning meaningless games. Absolutely. And I think that last year, the response from the fan base, the way that Tommy DeVito won the 3 games that were absolutely meaningless to us. Those wins did nothing for the locker room morale or galvanizing that unit, none of that stuff. I think that not only the players, but the coaches and Joe Schoen, the general manager, both understand that, listen, we got to go out there and lose some games, man. Don't go out there and try and do anything to win some games. I would actually consider putting some other players on the bench too. And Brian Daboll was asked about that, and he did say, we are in a process of like trying to evaluate this roster. So there will be some other decisions that will be made that could possibly put some other pieces on the bench as well. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. But shout out to Emilio. I appreciate you, my dog, supporting the channel, man. And yeah, it's a good point you bring up there. Corduroy Corey says, trade the kitchen sink for the quarterback. I ain't mad at that. Deedon said, by any means necessary. Double down. Foreman Mills. Shout out my dog, the Beard, one time in the building. All right, let's catch up, man. Let's catch up. My bad. And reiterate those questions, man. I don't mind y'all spamming in today. Whatever y'all got, man, throw it at me. We're going to be up here for at least a little bit while longer. I'll give y'all at least a good another 15 minutes here or something. Let me see what we got. Mike Jones says, no, they weren't meaningless because we literally beat the teams picking ahead of us, and fans were happy about moving down the draft board. Yeah, they meant something all right. I know that's right. They definitely did mean something. That's facts. David Lopez says, salute Authentic. Do you have more faith in Schoen or Daboll at this point? I have more faith in Daboll than I do Schoen. Schoen seems like he's a bit in over his head, and I don't know, man. The way the Schoen drafts has been very, very puzzling. Shout out to Los from JC one time. Appreciate the 199, my dog. Okay. Appreciate you. And Nomad said they still do it with the Tims, still flapping down the tongues, man. That's crazy. I did not know that was the case. Big Dog said, y'all bringing me back. Yeah, this is throwback. This throwback vibes. That was around the time where, like, in DC, we was wearing rubber bands on our jeans so that we could show the sneaker more. We was on some wild shit, like baggy jeans with rubber bands. We was wild, man. Shout out Waterfly in the building one time says, if you're watching on Bleach Report, subscribe to Authentic and the Beard on YouTube. For sure, man. And I'd imagine that most of the people here are from the YouTube community. Bleach Report, shout out to the homie Pal who's been holding us down over there on Bleach Report. But big shout out to Waterfly as well. Let me see. Taking me back. Racing Jackets with the ACGs. Yes, man. Joe, there was some, oh, man, you talking about them ACGs, bro. The Nike Zooms, I don't know if you remember the penny joints. The Beard had them. I had them too. The Air Zooms, they had the blue bottoms they had the gray pair that came out first, but then the all black with the blue bottoms, man. That was a good era, man. The Hirachis came back. God, they don't make sneakers like they once did. Mr. Zoe says, does any of this fall on coaching? Absolutely. I think Brian Daboll has regressed a little bit, from the coaching standpoint. But when you have a guy at the quarterback position that doesn't allow you to really call the game the way you want, and you have to rely on the running game and lack of stretching the ball down the field, that puts the coach in a really tough situation. So, yeah, all that added up, I think that they made the right decision today. A little late, but they made the right decision today. And coaching, yeah, some of it does fall on Brian Daboll. He hasn't been the same. I think teams got a little bit of tape on him as well, and he just hasn't been the same coach we saw in 2022 as well. Stephen Bloom says, Sanders or Ward and Neighbors over Nix, Penix, or JJ. Well, here's the thing. That could have been Nix and, let's say, Travis Hunter. That could have been Penix and Travis Hunter. I don't know. I think it's a pretty equal situation. And also, you could have saved the money that you spent on Brian Burns, right? Like, if you weren't invested in Daniel Jones being your starting quarterback and you drafted a rookie last year, what would be the point of paying Brian Burns $28 million a year? You would have had another draft pick. So you could have went Michael Penix, Adonai Mitchell last year, and went Travis Hunter this year. Great young core. So I'm happy we have Neighbors, though. I am. I'm definitely happy we have Neighbors. But there are a lot of different scenarios that could have panned out that could favor the other side of things as well. Let me see here. Arturo Perez says, do you want Giants to draft a quarterback or pick from free agency? Draft a quarterback, absolutely. For those that don't know, I'm one of the first people in the Giants community publicly that was like all on the Cam Ward train. And a lot of that has to do with my dog Stan, my nephew Stan, who always hipping me up to the next latest, greatest quarterback in college. And he told me about Cam Ward when he had first transferred to Washington State. So I got tweets from, talking about Cam Ward dating back 3 years ago. I loved his skill set. And I love those dual threat type of quarterbacks like that can do it all. So yeah, I'm definitely go get the quarterback in the draft for sure. And you can also address it in free agency and bring in a bit of a stopgap and a bridge quarterback so that you're not thrusting the rookie quarterback out there to be a starter from day one. Big Dog Status said them pennies was crazy. Absolutely. Pennies was absolutely crazy. And Brian Perez, it jumped on me. I saw your comment, bro. It's all love all day, bro. You know what I'm saying? You gang, bro. We welcome you here all day long. Let me see. Platino Power says that laughing my ass off. Someone just got in my train cart with a sweater that has a patch of every team. I kid you not. This is hilarious. Yeah, bro, them joints is terrible. That's the kind of gift that if you bought it for me, I'm finding a way to take it down to the thrift shop or something. So anybody listening that, with the holidays approaching, don't buy me no jacket with a bunch of patches on it with every NFL team or every NBA team, especially. Let me see. B-Rog says, I couldn't do the tongues, man. I need my boots not falling off my feet. Those things are heavy. Look, I'm the same way. And there was a time here in DC where you had to have a pair of Timbs. Everyone had a pair of Timbs at one point. And I did have a pair of Timbs at one point, but I never had a pair of Tan Butters. Never. I never liked the way they felt on my feet. They always looked huge. They were just too large of a shoe. So I had 2 pairs of Timbs. In my 8th grade year, I went to a private school. My mom was like, yo, you just fucking up way too much in the public school. We're going to send you to a private school. And I went to private school for a year that had a uniform. And I was like, man, I'm not wearing no bogus-ass dress shoes. So I went out there and I bought some Timberland, low-top canvas joints. I don't know if y'all remember those. I had those. And boot-wise, the only other joints I had a pair of the all-black, the mid-cut Chukka Timberlands, all-black leather joints that I had. And even when I would wear them, I didn't like wearing them. I was never really been a fan of Timberlands. I'm more of a fan of Nike Dunks and Jordans. Still till this day, the only sneakers that I wear are OG Jordans with, OG colorways or Nike Dunks. That's really all I got. I got a few, and I got some Vans. I got some Bones Vans that, man, I got to find them shits. When we moved, I couldn't find them, and I got a couple others, but that's about it for real. I'm really Jordans, Nike Dunks. That's my game right there. Let me see. Corduroy Corey says, if top 3 quarterbacks go off before us, what do you think we do? Trade down or push for a different quarterback? It's a lose-lose situation for fans. I agree with you on that. They can't. That's the thing. They cannot fall out of contention for a quarterback. That's where I'm at with it. If they allow that, that's on them. And they got to find a way to trade up and get the right quarterback in the building. I don't care what kind of assets you got to lose. You got to go out there and do it. Let me see what else we got. There are people still talking about the gear, too. Five Blitzer said Gore-Tex over everything. That might be a Jersey thing, though. Nah. When the North Face was popping and everybody was wearing them bubbles, I was all about the Gore-Tex joints. I'm a slender dude, man, so I like my jacket to be tight and fitted. I wore the so DC, and this is another one I think we got New York on here. All right, don't shoot the messenger, okay? I think DC was on the Eddie Bowers first. I know y'all kind of got him up top. Y'all was on the Triple Fat Gooses, the North Faces. New York, y'all was on the first down. Y'all remember the first down jackets? I thought them shits was terrible. I wore Eddie Bowers through that whole era because I like a lean jacket. You know what I'm saying? Gore-Tex joints was fire, man. I definitely get down with the Gore-Tex joints, the way they belted up and whatnot and kept things tight. Big fan of that. My girl still got one of them North Faces with the Gore-Tex vibe to them. But they was definitely overcharging for those jackets. But yeah, I'm a big fan of the Gore-Tex jackets. Very dope. Okay, we got that one already. Let me scroll back up a little bit more here. Okay, Lou Mateo says, if they don't get a chance to draft a quarterback, what's plan B? Fire everybody. They have to draft a quarterback. You guys, it was the Kenny Pickett, Malik Willis draft, right? people were like, they're going to get a quarterback. They didn't do it. We go all the way, Anthony Richardson draft. They didn't trade up. They didn't have the draft position after 2022 to do it. 2024 comes around, we're like, they're going to get a quarterback, right? We talked about it all summer in the spaces. They're going to get a quarterback, right? They end up going with Malik Neighbors at 6. If they don't get a quarterback, I'm promising y'all this right now. If the Giants do not draft a quarterback in the first round of the draft, this channel will turn into an NFL channel. I promise you that. Because there's no way I'm going to keep covering this team without a new true quarterback that gives us hope for this franchise underneath the center. Sebastian says, the Bleach Report streams be lit. Flames, I appreciate you, dog. I appreciate you pulling up, rocking out with us over there. Y'all know. So, like, when I first popped up on Bleach Report 2 years ago, you know, I'm a confident podcaster because of what we do here. So, like, I know my stances on stuff. I'm not, like, reading the chat and, like, figuring out my determination on the team through what other people are saying. I have a strict policy on how I looked at the New York Giants when I got there 2 years ago. So I'm going in there and I'm ruffling feathers. They were still on like Homer Daniel Jones vibes, like it's the weapons, it's the offensive line. And I come in there like, listen, Daniel Jones is never going to be anything more than an average quarterback in this league. He's capped out. He has no elite characteristics. The Giants need to move on. They should have brought in Baker Mayfield. They should have brought in Gardner Minshew. They should have brought in Marcus Mariota. They should have never paid this guy $92 million guaranteed. What did that do? That fan base gave me a lot of pushback. I hate this dude. He got to come up here every week talking about how bad my team is. Why do I have to listen to this? You had multiple comments coming in on some of my streams talking about fire this guy. Don't give this guy a platform. You know, I had one dude in there that thought that all of my content on Bleach Report was literally me just posting videos on their timeline. I'm like, bro, you know they hired me, right? Like, I'm not just one of like a regular fan just posting a bunch of videos over here, you know, to feed my ego or nothing. But now, these dudes is slowly but surely turning that corner like, authentic, man, you was right, man. You the only one that was being honest about the whole situation. I mean, what did you expect? New content creator comes up, pops up on Bleach Report. His name's Authentic. You thought he was going to be a fake dude, and you thought he was going to go up there and be like, nah, man, Daniel Jones just needs an offensive line. This New York Giants team they're right there. They're getting close. Nah, man. I love my team too much to be able to come up here and lie about them. That goes for anybody. Like the family members and the people that I love in my life, they're the ones that get the most honest assessment from me of who we all are. That's how I operate. I don't know any other way. My whole entire music career, every album I've ever created is literally a journal of my life. Like, I'm not up there lying about jack shit on a rap. Never. You will never find raps about me or from me lying about what's happening in my life. I use music as a journal. Podcasting is the same way. And people be thinking like you're in it for all the wrong reasons. Just like with music, people thought I was in music for money. Look, anybody that's smart knows that if you really want to make some money, rapping is not the way to make money. Everybody knows that. I never was invested in rap for money. That's why I've always been an underground hip-hop head my entire life. Everything I support, everything that I put out there musically has integrity to it. Because integrity is obviously not going to make you money, but when it's all said and done and they dip my casket into the ground, that's the stuff that's going to be left behind as a legacy for me. And as well as this New York Giants content, when people come back in 10 years and they get to look at an Authentic in the Beard stream and see us talking, even the Beard being like, man, they need to bench Daniel Jones, they'll know what it is. And they'll see that learning curve that we went through with the play that he put out there on the field. Los from JC says, do you think we can move in the right direction next year, having about $64 million in cap space and a quarterback on a rookie contract? I definitely think so. This today with benching Daniel Jones was a step in the right direction. And now you got to just go out there and get the quarterback. And then once you get the quarterback, continuously try to build around this team and make it make sense from a timeline standpoint, right? Don't bring in players that don't fit the timeline no more. And it's unfortunate that you've paid, not necessarily that you paid these guys, but it's unfortunate that they're aging after being paid with guys like Andrew Thomas and Dexter Lawrence, who had to endure this whole entire time with the New York Giants on losing ball clubs. It's going to be tough. But yes, absolutely, this is definitely a step in the right direction. John Young says, in the draft, you're on the clock. Who you taking, bro, and why? Cam Ward, right off the bat. If we have the ability to draft him, I'm taking Cam Ward. And if it's not Cam Ward, I'm taking Shedeur Sanders. Get the franchise quarterback in the building, build the rest of the team from there. And you can do that while he's on the rookie contract. And then by the time you go to re-up on the contract and the 4 to 5 years is over, Hopefully you have some more pieces in play. And by the time you pay this next quarterback, the New York Giants are ready to compete. Let me see. Greg says, New Yorker here. We wear Timbs in the summer. LOL, beef and broccoli. Yeah, DC too, bro. Like, I don't know who started this whole Pooh Shiesty mask type of movement, but in DC, bro, these kids is out here, hottest day of July, they got on a Pooh Shiesty mask and a big jacket. It's crazy out here. It's crazy out here. But yeah, fashion over everything, right? Fashion over everything. That's what it is. Big shout out to Greg for popping up too, man, talking about the little bit of fashion vibes we was talking about here. Let me see. Mike Jones says, if they screw up the tank, then they do deserve to be fired. I do think I got that one. That's big facts right there. 59 Ways to Groove says, you goddamn right. We had the EBs first, big green ones. Yes, yeah. Remember when the black ones weren't out? Yeah, everybody was like, man, I'm going to give me that EB Bear green joint. My brother had it, and I was like, I don't know about the green, big bro. I had to wait. I got a black one first. I still got one to this day. It's a little old now, but I still got a navy blue Eddie Bauer, big time. Yeah, in the 80s, yeah, you couldn't walk around with that first EB in DC. Somebody was going to jack you for sure. Ooh, David talking about the Avrex Bombers, though. Yo, shout out to my homie KC, bro. He brought them joints back down here to DC. He had a tan Avrex. I remember he's one of the first people I saw really rocking that, man. And yeah, the Avrexes was popping. Hey, New York, y'all got the Avrex. You got no debating for me on that. New York absolutely has the Avrex for sure. Yo, Victor says Cam Ward is a New York Giant, my guy. Hey, I hope you right, dog. I hope you right, bro. 7 more games, man. 7 more games in a couple of months. We'll be here for the draft, and we'll see how it goes. Real J Coop says, bro, it's over, and I'm so happy. I'm right there with you, man. Like, yeah, it's a good day. J Coop also said that CB won then quarterback in the second. Ooh, you see now we're not vibing. I need that quarterback in the first round, J Coop. I really do. There's not many second round quarterbacks that I see that the Giants should really target. If you miss out on a quarterback in the first round, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that. Jay Jackson says football over fandom 100%. That's fact. Shout out my dog Juice in the building. What's going on, my dog? Let me see. Real J Coop says that music is a marathon and a long game. It really is. It really is. And right now, music is in probably the worst state that it's ever been in, as far as a value standpoint. It's very hard to get any value from music in the hip hop community these days. It just seems in commercial rap they're pushing more narratives than they are pushing really good music. But I do agree with you on that. Royal Money Entertainment says Shador would be the only pick that gets real talent to want to play with him. Cam Ward, bro. Check out Cam Ward as well, but I'm with you on Shador. Stanley's in the building. He says, why the Giants bother benching Daniel Jones when he gives the Giants the best chance to lose so we can get the number 1 pick? This move does not make sense. I don't know about that. I don't know how to feel about that. Like, it's not that Daniel Jones is leaps and bounds above any other quarterback on this roster. I think they all give us a fairly similar shot at losing games. I think that Drew Lock probably would have gave us the best shot, to be honest. Let's get this super chat here from Arturo, man. What's going on, Arturo, with the $4.99 super chat? He says, what makes Ward better than Sanders? I don't watch college football. Side note, been watching you since day one and love your honesty, brother. Appreciate you, my dude. For me, particularly, it's the escapability. Shedeur Sanders he was not blessed with the Deion Sanders agility and speed gene. There's a certain confidence, too, that Cam Ward plays the game with from the pocket that I think Shedeur does not play with. But Shedeur is still a really good quarterback. I like Shedeur. And I won't argue with anyone who says that Shedeur should be QB1. I just like the dual threat capabilities of Cam Ward a little bit better. Cam is going to be a guy that he's not going to run the ball like a Lamar Jackson or like an Anthony Richardson or even like a Josh Allen. I think he'll be something more of like what Aaron Rodgers was like as far as running when Aaron Rodgers was in his prime, a guy that has enough wheels to get out the pocket and make those plays. But I just like the way that he can take a less than average offensive line and be able to thrive in that. And I just think big play capability, Cam Ward has the nod. Bigger arm, stronger arm, I think, too. I do think Shedeur is just as accurate, but my comp for Shedeur Sanders is going to be a little bit more along the lines of a Geno Smith in the league. Whereas I think Cam Ward has that upside to be something of, cut from the cloth for the guys who are in the elite category. Guys like Patrick Mahomes come to mind, not as egregious, obviously, but from a skill set standpoint. I think he can do a lot of the things that some of those guys can do, like a Jaden Daniels, like a Caleb Williams. I think he can do some of those things. So that's why I've got Cam Ward at QB1. And I do think I am in the minority with that take. I think more people across the NFL community have Shedeur Sanders as QB1. But I think from an arm talent standpoint, I like Cam Ward a little bit better. But shout out to Arturo, man. I appreciate you supporting the channel, my dog. Let me see. Kelvin Arzu is in the building. He says, been watching Daniel Jones since I was in the military, bro. After a hard week, I had to watch Daniel Jones, and I'm so glad that that's finally over. Yeah, I'm right there with you, bro. I'm right there with you, man. Yeah, injury clause. Everybody talking about the injury clause. Big facts. Big facts, man. They had to. They would have looked foolish if Daniel Jones would have went out there and hurt himself and not passed that physical. I mean, that would have just looked terrible. That would look terrible. Fablitza says the new generation of female rappers are rapping better than the new male artists, to be honest. Yeah, there is a lane for like a few of these female artists that you're seeing pop out. Artists like Rhapsody. Yeah, Rhapsody been in the game for them. I remember when they first signed Rhapsody, man. They Duck Down and Jamla had came to DC back then. That was a long time ago. And she finally got nominated for a Grammy. Big ups to her, man. She's always been a really dope MC. Who's the other one that's coming out right now that's rapping a little bit? I think it's Doechii. She's kind of dropping some bars as well. Yeah, it's a few of them. But then, like, look at it in the mainstream. It's like they selling strippers as far as rappers go in the mainstream. But I definitely feel you. Stanley says the Giants ain't drafting Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders because they are black. The Giants are drafting Penn State quarterback Drew Allar because he's the best quarterback for Brian Daboll's offense. I disagree with both. I don't think that Drew is the best quarterback. It's crazy because they play him on the road, though. That's one game that I hope I could travel with Maryland to go see. Maryland plays Penn State the last game of the season. I would love to go see them and see Drew in person. But I don't think he's the best quarterback for Brian Daboll's system. I think Cam Ward is. I really do. Being able to run the ball from a read option standpoint, I think gives them a better option. And then as far as them not drafting Cam Ward, I think that the way, if you look at history, that you definitely have a point there. They haven't drafted a black quarterback yet. But I think that you can't operate in the NFL without being up on current standards. And right now, if you look across the league, about at least half of the NFL has black quarterbacks. Whether or not the New York Giants have any bit of racism within the franchise, I don't know. I can't definitively say. But I do think that they look for a certain kind of character at the quarterback position, but they got to break that mold in this draft. It's time. I mean, they tried to clone Eli Manning with Daniel Jones, and it's time that we move on from that style of quarterback because we've never had a true dual threat, and that will make, I think that'll re-spark what's going on in the fan base. If you brought in like a Cam Ward, man, off-season content is going to be amazing. And I encourage all of y'all that are here now that aren't subscribed to this channel to subscribe to this channel, because once we get into the draft process with prospects, this is going to be a fun offseason over here at Authentic in the Beard. I can guarantee all that. Ben Ayers says, if not Ward or Sanders, I'll take Drew Allar in round 2. He's been balling. I'll take any quarterback, but it's just not my preference. Valentino says, you saw Cam Ward or the podcast with Sanders? I have not seen that yet. I will try to take a look at that. DeIlla says, I agree. I think Locke gives us the best chance to lose out. That man would throw big-time interceptions. I don't like the move to DeVito at all. I'm actually speaking the difference because I do think that Drew Lock would turn the ball over more than Daniel Jones would. But I do think that his big play capability with his big arm could put the Giants in situations to catch early leads in games against a bad team. Like if you get up 14-0 on the Dallas Cowboys, that's over. I don't know about that with Tommy DeVito, but Tommy DeVito, I think, with his little running capability and whatnot, and he's got some moxie, man. He might be able to go out there and win some games. That's true. Michael Harris is in the building. He says, checking in on you and the Beard off and on for a few, but really got into you guys this year. You keep it 100, and I've come to appreciate your take. Keep it up, man. Thank you. I appreciate that, Michael, and thank you for voicing your opinion here in the chat, man. That definitely means a lot, my dog. I know a lot of people watch these streams, and they aren't as active in the chat, and to see you pop up and give me those kind words, that definitely means a lot, my dog. Let me see what else we got. Sebastian says that I saw Shedeur as a less Burrow. Yeah. And it's hard to gauge those guys because you have to breach the threshold of being a solid pocket passer in the NFL, and there's not many of them. Joe Burrow, Geno Smith, Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson. You could put Russell Wilson in that ballpark now. There's not many others, you know? So that makes it tough. And really, I'm much better at evaluating quarterback prospects that bring more to the table than just passing the ball. When you have like these pocket passers, it's very difficult to kind of differentiate a Daniel Jones, let's say, from any other good pocket passer. It makes it really tough. Shout out Gregory in the building. He says, Authentic, assuming the Giants get quarterback one, who and what position would you pick next? I think I would go cornerback or D tackle. And I got to do some more research on some of these other positions. I like to keep up with the quarterbacks during the year a good bit. But when it comes to like second round talent in the draft, as far as cornerbacks and D-line go, I got to do a little bit more research before I give you a confident answer up here. Stanley says, hey, Authentic, I think Shedeur Sanders will be more NFL ready compared to Cam Ward because Sanders is playing an NFL scheme. I 100% agree with you on that. And I'm just thinking like, don't want to bring in the rookie quarterback to be a day one starter and have expectations to win games right off the bat. So the NFL ready part for me is not necessarily the primary asset that I'm looking for, to be honest. I'm looking for ceiling. I think Cam Ward has that. Real J. Coop says, I think for the NFL, the 6'5", 241 Drew Allar or the 6'3", 225 Jackson Dart in the second, securing cornerback one with a quarterback Dable can mold. It's an option, but Jackson Dart, I don't like that he doesn't bring the dual threat. All of these takes really where I'm going to disagree is that they're not dual threat quarterbacks. And that's where the game is shifting in my eyes. We'll take a couple more and then we'll get y'all up out of here. Stanley says, hey, Authentic, do you think drill music has killed the rap scene? Nah, it was, if you want to point one thing at what killed the rap scene, I don't even want to pin this on them. But I would say it starts during the era of trap music. And I'll tell you why. Before that, we were documenting the culture. And even through trap music is definitely a documentation of the culture. But when trap set the world on fire and you started seeing production from trap being influenced in all other genres, like you listen to a country record today, and there is an element of trap in country music today, in the popular country music, not the standard traditional stuff. But like when you see what like Shabuzi is doing, shout out to Shabuzi, a guy from the area too. You know, all that stuff is influenced by trap. Even Taylor Swift is influenced by trap. And when it started to get into the production, it then became a thing where the documentation of the culture did not matter anymore. I was always a person that I listened to rap as a fan where I was invested in the character who was giving me the rap music. It's why I like guys like Danny Brown. I'm a huge fan of Danny Brown. And Danny Brown's the kind of guy that he's just himself. Smokes a whole bunch of weed. He's not scared to try nothing. Festival type of music. You know, he's like a cat dude. This dude, he's like one of the more honest artists in rap. And I like characters like that because I'm invested in the character. J. Cole's another one. Had the pleasure of working with J. Cole during the off-season album. And just a down-to-earth dude. Like J. Cole, of all the artists that I've ever worked with, was the artist that reminded me the most of myself. From a person, just who he was as a person. He didn't hold celebrities to high regards. You know, he didn't care who you were. You know, he wasn't going to dress to impress and all that stuff. Like, the dude was just a regular dude. And that's why I really rocked with him. But I do think that when they realized that you didn't need a pretty face, right? Because if you look at the whole like 90s, late 80s, early 90s era of R&B and rap, just black music in general, you had to have that face up front. It makes me think of like groups like Soul For Real, where they were looking to get young talent that was marketable from when you see the face standpoint, like, oh, he looks like a good kid, handsome kid, blah, blah, blah. Trap brought in an element that none of that shit mattered. It was one, are you effective? Are people dancing with it? Are people vibing to it? And that was it. And once they figured that out, I think that's when you got this era of a bunch of clones now that now you got, it's crazy because in my day, you needed the reputation to back the artist. And now you're seeing these artists go out there and try to build the reputation for their rap career. And what I'm saying by that is, I know some young dudes that are getting themselves into trouble. They're getting themselves into robberies. They're getting themselves into gun charges, all kind of stuff that that's not where they from. But because the rap game calls for it, they feel like it's necessary for them to do that to have a rap career. And some of that stuff started during the 50 Cent era too. That is it, yeah. And we've been on a decline. I was fighting this battle about music when I was in high school in 1998. I'll never forget when Black Star dropped their debut album. And when that came out, I was like one of few people that was listening to that kind of music, and that birthed a wave of me like loving underground music all the way through like the Def Jux era, speaking on a bunch of shit y'all youngins probably just don't know about. But New York had a lot of good rap during that time, man. And to me, it was one of the last great eras, along with the early 2010s with dudes like A$AP Rocky, Big Crit, and a bunch of those other guys, Joey Badass, that really brought in a new vibe of rap. Shout out Sebastian for plugging some of the raps too. Uncommon Breed by Authentic is a classic track on a classic album. Thank you. Like I'm working on this new project now, and I'm just waiting on the right time to really like get in the studio, not get in the studio, but like get dirty in the studio. And I've been reflecting on some of the older projects, and both those albums to me, and I know they're personal to me, but they're albums that not only were overlooked like on a national scale, but like even my city overlooked those albums because sonically, I never really sounded like I'm from DC. I think that's been a different thing, but enough rap talk. I see, and y'all are on the rap shit. I'm a little bit behind, but y'all are definitely on the rap shit. Let me scroll down a little bit here. I did see somebody questioning something here. Yep. All right, just catching up. Okay, Unofficially Retired Podcast says, what do you think holds more weight to these scouts, game tape or numbers? I think Shadur and Cam impress in both, and other guys like Milroe just impress on tape, and guys like Dart impress with the numbers. This particular staff and these scouts might weigh in on the numbers a little bit as well. I mean, look at the way that Shane Bowen was hired. It was like, look, man, this guy's top 10 and blah, 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 blah. Go get him. And then he's hired a couple of days later. It's kind of crazy. Tape is almighty. It's the most important. And I look at it from a perspective of knowing a little bit about the quarterback position. But when I played high school ball, you got to understand that a lot of these resources were not out there for us. So the game has changed and it has morphed. Like I started at quarterback in JV in my 10th grade year. And then when I got to varsity, they moved me to wide receiver because our offense was shifting to a wishbone offense that was going to run the option. And they felt like I was not mobile enough at the time. So they moved me to wide receiver. But on JV, my 10th grade year, I didn't even have someone teaching me how to do my dropbacks. That's how different the game was in 1997 and 1998 to now, where it's like you will not play quarterback on any level if you don't understand the dropback. Like I was probably the last one of that era. The people from my decade and my age group were the last ones that didn't have like quarterback coaches and people teaching you those mechanics. So it is a different game, but from my lens, tape is most important. I like to see guys in different situations. I like to see guys when the game is on the line. I like to see guys when they're winning. Do they lax up? And then also being able to judge their mechanics and some of the stuff that I've learned, post playing ball as a youngin'. Stuff that I learned from some of the greats like JT O'Sullivan when it comes to breaking down quarterbacks. Alex Rollins, a lot of these guys really understand the position, and I rely on those guys. So for me, tape is almighty. I hope the New York Giants are looking at it the same way, but they've been very hard-pressed to be able to evaluate the quarterback position over the last couple of years. David Lopez says, what y'all don't realize is that our second-round pick could have a first-round grade. I don't quite understand the statement, to be honest. If you're talking about this 2025 draft, I think that there's a way the Giants could be picking so high that their second round pick could be nearing towards the top of the second round, back half of the first round, and maybe they could trade back in and possibly get some more picks or give up some assets to trade back in to the first round, which is what a lot of people wanted to do with Michael Penix. Our second round pick could have a first round grade. I'm not too sure. Maybe elaborate on it when I scroll down. I'll try to see it. Kelvin says, what do you think about Jalen Milroe? So the reason why I'm so high on Cam Ward is because I've already looked at all the tape on Cam Ward. You know, he was in my pre-draft process in 2024, and in 2023, I was looking at tape on him. Whereas guys like Jalen Milroe, I have to go in and do more of that. I've watched a couple of games this year, obviously. I've done some compilations on the channel here on YouTube as well, but I want to see just the basics. That's what I'm worried about with Milroe. The athletic part of Jalen Milroe, there's no question that he can be a guy. Let me see. Five Blizzard. I didn't want to bring up the rap stuff again, but this is an interesting comment. He says drug rap from Wayne and Future. I don't put Lil Wayne in that ballpark. Lil Wayne till this day. Go listen to his verse on Saturday mornings with Corday. He's still rapping. Like Lil Wayne is of the highest caliber of rap still till this day. And I was one of them East Coast dudes that, you know, when Lil Wayne was coming up talking about all that best rapper alive stuff, I was like, man, you out your damn mind if you think you rapping in the same lane as some of these dudes in New York, like the Jada Kisses and the, you know, Jay-Z's and the Nas's and all that. But, man, it took me time. The Carter 2 from Lil Wayne really put me on, man. We bumped that album for the whole entire year. And Lil Wayne is, I don't put Lil Wayne in that Future because Future's doing more drug rap, yeah, but Lil Wayne's not doing that. And he says they made it cool to dumb down and be a drug addict, which there were other aspects of rap that were kind of like that. Like if you look at the gangster rap era from the 1990s, they made it cool to be gangsters, which was kind of wild. If you look at Luke, you know, and the whole Southern movement, the first one, and everything that was coming out around that time were like, you could go a little bit after too, like 3-6 Mafia and all those groups that were coming out, 8-Ball MJG and like all of that stuff. That it was kind of ignorant too. I look at rap and art as an expression. So I don't mind what the content is about. If you're a drug addict and you're making music about being a drug addict, I don't really necessarily have an issue with that. The issue is when you get the corporations that go, oh, we can sell that drug music, and not understanding the repercussions that come with that, right? Because now you got these kids, they're experimenting with drugs much earlier than all of us did, right? And it's not even an experimenting thing. It's now you got kids that are fully blown, hooked on pills now after listening to like, I don't even know these dudes' names, like Lil Peep and like some of these other dudes, right? And now these dudes want to be a full-blown addict on oxys or something. I do feel you on that part of it with the drug stuff, and a guy like Future who just pretty much did lean rap. But I won't blame a singular artist. I will always blame the corporations that realize we can sell it. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these people look at music as a lot of listeners. They don't go find what they want. They allow it to come down the funnel and pick from what comes down the funnel. And when you look at it from an intellectual standpoint in rap, like all we really got is like Kendrick Lamar, J. Cole, and like Big Sean, and maybe like a few others that aren't doing like rap that is deteriorating your community. And we're here now, but I don't blame Lil Wayne because Lil Wayne was always trying to push the pen. Lil Wayne, man, like some of the bars that Lil Wayne, that he would say, man, like you listen to his verse on Barry Bonds with Kanye, like dude was incredible. He's still incredible. Or Glory. Listen to Glory by Lil Wayne, man. It's one of the best lyrical performances I've ever heard in my entire life. And that Saturday Mornings record too, man. That verse is crazy. Yeah, I see we got a little bit more rap stuff here. One day, and we've been talking about this for a long time. One day soon, we're gonna just do a whole Lil Wayne rap, all of that South, best top lyricists. We're gonna put all that stuff under a microscope. We're gonna do that. Shotgunner says, authentic. If Brian Flores dropped the lawsuit, do you think he coached Giants or is too much damage? I think it might be too much damage, but it would have been really cool. Like Brian Flores would have been a great hiring. You see with the way that he turned around the Minnesota Vikings defense, you know, from one of the worst in the league. He's bringing in some of his talent, you know, Van Ginkel over there. They brought in Jonathan Grenard. Just, yeah, Brian Flores is a guy. And it's unfortunate. I'm sure that there is some validity to his lawsuit. I don't think he would just come out of nowhere and just, you know, lie about that. I don't see that happening. But, yeah, I think you make a good point there. I likely think that too much damage has been done. Yeah, the rap talk is here. Berg says Jid is a sick rapper. Let me give you a quick little story on this. So the session that I had done with J. Cole, 10 p.m. to 10 a.m., back around the time when he was working on the offseason, it was a session with Jid. Jid is good homies with one of the artists I work with, Chaz French. Keep your eyes out for Chaz French, man, and support the stuff you see coming out. He's a really talented artist. But Jid, the session was with Jid and with Boz. And Jid and Boz were just like not interested in working on music that night. They were kind of turning up. Like, yeah, let's just hit the town and go out. And right before that, J. Cole popped up. And they all left. And J. Cole was like, you down to keep working? I was like, is a Fat Baby funky? Hell yeah, I'm down to keep working. This is J. Cole we got in our presence right now, man. And ended up working on a couple of records that night, one of them that ended up making the offseason. Jid's a good dude. I've hung out with Jid multiple times. Saw Jid at the headline show that they did with Earth Gang at the Fillmore and whatnot. Great rapper. And I love that he has, like, there's no constraint to what he does. He's very, like, to say what he has to say, he will allow the bars to go a little left and not be quite parallel on the beat. I love that. Yeah, and somebody said not happening, Shy, as far as the Brian Flores thing. Yeah, I think it's all, but it's just too far now. It's too far now. Yes, Sebastian, we need a rap stream. We absolutely do. We do. We're going to do that soon. I promise. I've been promising y'all that for a couple of years. We're going to do that soon. But nonetheless, man, the Giants go out here. They bench Daniel Jones. We'll have at least a little bit of, some excitement here, I'll say, in the weeks to come surrounding the New York Giants. Shotgunner. When I see a name I worked with, I'm like, yeah, he says Spesh and Benny are style and Jada. Yeah, most definitely. Mastered a record for Benny the Butcher this past year. Man, Benny is doing it for the culture. I love what Benny is doing. He came back and he worked with a couple of artists from D.C., my homie Kingpin Slim, who's on my last album. He worked with my homie Nucci, who is the son of a legend in the DMV area, an artist that goes by the name of Booby. And they had him come up and do a segment with the Go-Go Band. I recommend y'all check that out. It's called On the Porch, a segment that Nucci does. Definitely check that out, man. Definitely some good vibes. Let me see what else we got. Y'all liking the rap conversation here. Y'all know we got to do that on another stream, man. Y'all know we got to do that on another stream. Stanley says, what's your take on the current drill rap artists like Chief Keef, Lil Durk, and King Von? I never truly got too invested in drill rap like that. I'm more of a conscious rap listener and creator. But I hold Chief Keef to a high regard. Like, when he first came out with Chop and that production and just what they were doing in the rap game, that was major. That was major. The Beard says, don't worry, Authentic. Still have Jaden Daniels. Yeah, we do. Yeah. It's good for you, man. It's good for you, man. Make sure y'all tune in on Tuesday, tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be breaking down the 2 NFC East games with the Beard here, talking about the Cowboys' loss and talking about the Philadelphia Eagles taking care of the Washington Commanders there. Yeah, we're going to do that. Make sure y'all stay tapped in. We definitely going to do the rap stream. But again, man, look, Daniel Jones on the bench, long overdue. And we've endured a tough season, a tough couple of seasons with Daniel Jones at the quarterback position. And that y'all are still here, man, and we could just talk about whatever is awesome. I respect all y'all for that, man, and I appreciate all y'all time here today. Throw some biceps in the chat. If you've been here since the beginning, throw some biceps in the chat. If you are, we got to do something different for the new people. Just give me any singular emoji in the chat if it's your first time here rocking out with Authentic and the Beard. And make sure to hit that subscribe button if you dig the vibes, man. Let me see. Brian Rogowski says that help educate me on rap, y'all. We got you, bro. We got you. Shout out to Jarrell. Shout out to K4M the Great, Deedon Shelton, Moet. Who else we got? Mr. Mini Guy, Real J Coop in the building. Shotgunner was in the building. Muhammad Ali, the champ, is here, was in the building. Salute to all of y'all, man. B-Rog is in the building. Appreciate y'all showing up week in and week out for these streams. Pal 11 came over from Bleach Report. Big shout out to him. Nick Torres is in the building. Big shout out to you, fam. Appreciate all y'all rocking out with me today, man. And I do think that this is a step in the right direction. Shout out to Royal Money Entertainment. And I think the Giants, they made the right decision, obviously. And I think what we got to monitor here in the next couple of weeks is, was it too late that they did this? We shall see. I don't want to keep y'all here for too long. It's a beautiful day on the East Coast here. Make sure y'all get out, get some of this weather. I might try to hit the driving range. I wanted to go golfing a little bit earlier with the homies. They was all talking a bunch of bullshit. But I kind of want to hit the driving range. But again, man, I appreciate y'all, man. Nick, I don't know when the new album is dropping. I don't know. I worked with him during the off-season time. But I'm looking forward to it. J. Cole's one of the best in the game right now. Shout out Unofficially Retired Podcast, John B. Simeon's in the building. Real J. Coop says the best decision going forward. And my dog, Sebastian, who's been doing all the shorts for us, man. We definitely couldn't be doing this without you, man. Big salute to you, my dog. David Parodine is in the building. Parodine, I think that's how we pronounce that. We did go over that last podcast. And shout out Victor Castro. I see Corey Robinson in the building, man. Salute to all of y'all, man. Y'all know that we couldn't do this without y'all. And we end every stream the same way over here, man. Keep raising that bar. Keep living those dreams because the universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound. And a life without dreams is a life in black and white. Rest in peace to the podcast GOAT, Combat Jack one time. And that's a wrap, y'all. We will be back tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It was my pleasure to come up here and hang out with y'all today for about 2 hours, talking some New York Giants football, and most importantly, talking about the quarterback position. So definitely pull up 7 p.m. tomorrow. We'll be talking about the NFC East moving forward. We'll get the Beard's thoughts on this benching as well for the New York Giants. The Beard has been calling for this for about 3-4 weeks now. I think he was about a week or two ahead of the most recent curve of me talking about benching Daniel Jones. But that should be an interesting conversation to start up the show tomorrow at 7 p.m. with a little bit more information. I'm going to go back and watch the press conference with Brian Dable again, see if there are any little, Easter eggs or hidden gems within that piece of content there one time. But again, man, y'all know we can't do this without y'all. And if you were new here and you digging the vibes, hit the subscribe button. We did just breach 5,000 this year, man, and we're just trying to keep raising the bar for this podcast. That's all we're trying to do. And we don't, we're not chasing the big hundreds of thousands or nothing like that. If it happens, it happens. But at the end of the day, I know the Beard is very content with this community that we have built over here on YouTube in this small corner of the internet, man. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Monday afternoon. And yeah, it's been my pleasure again. Catch y'all on the flip side, man. Peace.
Spike don't care.